Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome. How are you? How are you? It's a Friday, and I'm so excited. I'm super, super duper tired, but I'm excited to be here. My daughter comes over and tries to fan me over to the side. Thank you, honey, but that's not enough air. So I had to turn on my air conditioner. Remember, I always come in here with the jacket on. The tables have turned, and now I'm coming in here. I might have to, put on a tank top before this is all over because I am hot under the lights. So who do we have in here? We have Lakeisha. Hey, Lakeisha. We have Simply Taisha. Hey, Taisha. I love how she has a little Divalicious, Diva Doll, something she has. We have the Mel to the B. Hey, Mel, how are you? We have, who else is in here? Bellflower, my weight loss twin. How are you? We have Jen. Hey, Jen. How are you, Jen? We have Tammy. And who else? Okay, that's Lakeisha again saying hello to everyone. So hello, hello, and welcome, welcome. So I am excited. On Fridays we talk about all things dating, and this is where it goes down with those topics. This is for the married ladies and the single ladies. This is for all ladies out there, right? Now, if you're over 40, we're focusing in on you because I'm over 40, right? I'm over 40. So we're going to focus in on over 40. But actually, you saw my special guest. We have it on the thumbnail, and then she had a pop-up right before we started here. But she is over 40, and she's going to talk about how she I'm going to let her tell you her story. But it's interesting because she had like a second chance at love, I feel like. And a lot of people in the chat, as we've been going through these weeks, I don't know how many weeks we've been doing the date night Fridays, I call them. But I don't know how many weeks we've been doing it, but a lot of women have been married and then they've divorced and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And they've been saying in the chat, I'm done. I'm not, getting married again. My mom said that. She said that too, and she got remarried in her 50s. So a lot of women say that. And I always feel like those are the women that are going to beat me to the altar because I'm saying I want love. I want to find somebody. And so I feel like it's always the people that say they don't want it that, finds it. And probably because they're not looking. So that's a clue I didn't think about. So I know we have some married ladies in here and we need the advice of the married ladies. And I have some questions that I'm going to ask as we go, depending on, I'm going to let Ange lead and I'll follow her somewhat. But of course, being a teacher, I kind of did my research and took some notes here. So I have some questions, and also for the married women, I have questions for you too, because I think once you're married, you got to keep that man, right? So, all right. So without further ado, we're going to talk to Miss Ange, who has a story to tell. It reminds me, what's that little jingle of that song? Like, I got a something, something, something with the little pill with the, how does the song go? Like, you guys know that song. What is that song? Is it Jardian, that Jardian commercial? They might charge me for the jingle, so I'm not really going to sing it. But you guys know what that is. But when I was, thinking about this, I started to call it something like that. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. But it reminds me, because Ange does have a story to tell. So we're going to let her come on here and she's going to tell us about how she had her second chance at love. She met her husband when she was, I don't know if she was she was over the age of 40 when they got married. And so I'll let her tell you all about it, but I'm excited to bring her on. I feel like we just saw each other and connected last week. So here we are again. Somebody called us the dynamic duo. I always call the Downsize the dynamic duo, but hey, we're going to take it because we're two dynamic ladies. So here we go. Here we go. All right. So here is Miss Ange. Zepbound with Ange. Yay! How are you?
Hello, Downsizing Diva. It's good to be back with you again.
It's good to have you back. Yes, yes, yes. So how are you? And tell us, you got to tell us what brings you here tonight to tell us about dating over 40.
I'm doing great. I just learned about this. I didn't even know you were doing this on Friday nights. And so when I heard you were doing this, I was like, oh, that sounds like so much fun. I would love to participate. I met and married my husband over the age of 40. Put me in, coach, put me in.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, when I was listening to your story, you said that you had been married before And you
Hmm.
said when you were married before, obviously it didn't work out. But I'm just going to say some of the things I want to read, some of the things that because it reminds me of so many women that are in relationships and they stay. And a lot of times they stay for the kids, sometimes they stay for financial reasons. And you say you were career focused, you wanted to marry and have a family. You said it wasn't easy as you thought it would be. This is what I found this very intriguing, this part. Now, you said what I found was in that other relationship, you said that you could be married and still be lonely. Can you explain what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So my first marriage was when I met him when I was 30. I want to say we got married at 32. I was 32. He was a little bit older, but he was a good guy. Like I was looking for a good guy, somebody who had similar values, someone who was a kind person, and somebody I could spend the rest of my life with. And I felt like through my 20s, I worked all the time. Like it was all about my career. I was career focused. And then as I was getting closer to the age of 30, when you're younger, you have this idea. I was like, oh, I'm going to meet and marry my husband by 25. I'm going to start having kids around 27, 28. I always wanted to have a family. And so when I turned like 27, 28, and I wasn't married I didn't have children. I just worked, right? I had a career. I was climbing the corporate ladder and that was going well, but my personal life was not. Like I really didn't make time for it. And then I was like on a mission to try to date. And my family, I have older cousins who were married and had kids. And at the family cookouts, I would say, I'd be reading all the books, like how to get to I do, and the rules. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know the rules, right? I was reading, like I would travel with a backpack of books on relationships, on how to be a great wife and how to attract the man and how all the things. And my cousins were like, you're in your 20s, relax, you're gonna meet him, right? And I would go to my mom and I would say to my mom, like, I want to get married and I want to have a family, and where is he? Right? And she would say, Ange, Sarah had, and because I said, I want to have a baby. She goes, don't worry, Ange, you'll be fine. Sarah had a baby with Abraham. And she was like, I was like, but she was like 89 years old. So
Oh.
I met my first husband, and we dated for a couple years, and then we got married. And he was a good man. And I thought, after reading all the books, right, I thought that I had picked the right husband, right? I had waited. I married him when I was 32. That I had picked the right husband for the right reasons, right? I was looking for the values. I was looking for all the things. And we were together for almost 10 years. So I would say, when I was talking to a friend of mine, I was like, oh, I have a failed marriage. And she was like, you were together for 10 years. Like, that's success, right? That's success. And I was like, I didn't look at it that way, because for me to wait till I was 32 to get married, I didn't really believe in divorce. So I didn't want to ever get divorced. Like, I wanted to be married for life. And so it didn't work out that way. And it was a marriage where somebody else was there with me, but I felt very alone. And one of the things that I really wanted was a family. And I was almost 35 years old, and the biological clock was ticking, and I was setting everything up. I had like the SUV, I had bought the single family home, like all the things, but there wasn't a child. And that was something that I really wanted. And he said he wanted those things too. We had marriage counseling with our pastor, with two pastors, like we did all the things.
Oh, wow.
And so it didn't work out, right? It didn't work out. And so I stayed way longer than I should have. Like, people were telling me, like, you should have left a long time ago, but nobody knew. I suffered in silence in that marriage, and nobody knew. Even my best friend would come over for dinner and see us as a couple and thought everything was great, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And so we eventually, we we did something kind of unique in that we didn't fight. Like it wasn't a battle. It was really sad because it was heartbreaking that the marriage wasn't going to work, but that I had to make a choice to move on. And we decided to go away. We went away for a weekend and we talked it out. And I said, I never want to be your enemy. Like I said, I really love you. I said, but this isn't a marriage that I can stay in. And he understood, and that wasn't what he wanted either. If I hadn't made that decision, we'd still be married, right? Right. He didn't
Mhm.
want that either. But I said, I never want to be like we're fighting over money and we're giving the lawyers all of our, all of the money that we have. And he agreed. And so we had an amicable divorce. We actually sat with each other in the courtroom. We met up with each other before the service, the session, and we had our own attorneys. But even the judge said, "Are you guys sure you want a divorce? Like you're so friendly. Like I'm not used to seeing that, right?" But we did, and we divorced, and we tried to stay friends after the divorce. We tried to stay friends, but he met somebody else, and she didn't understand. Like she's like, "Why would you want to talk to her? No, like you don't need to have a relationship with her." And so that's why we did it.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah. So that was my first marriage, and he actually met my current husband. He met him.
Wow.
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
I had him over for dinner. I had him over. He knew about guys that I was dating after him. Like he would hear me tell him stories about guys I was dating. He's like, I don't like that guy for you. That guy's bad news, right? So when he met my husband Bill, when he left on his way home, he texted me and said he's a good guy. Like I didn't want to like him, but he's a really good guy.
Okay, so wait, did he come to dinner with the new girl or was it just
No,
him? It
he
was just
came
him.
just him. We long story short, we didn't have children of our own, but we were foster parents. I was a licensed therapeutic foster parent. So we were both taking care of foster kids, and he knew the kids. And so I would send the kids to his house for respite, right? So I wanted
Uh,
I wanted the new guy that I was dating, who would become my husband, to know that there's nothing, because I didn't want Bill to feel like, why is she still seeing her ex-husband, right? I
sure,
was like,
yeah.
it's a friend, and I want you to meet him. And so they met, and then he's like, oh, I'm not threatened. Like they're just friends.
Okay, so that's great. So I love to hear that. I love to hear when relationships end, when you can still keep some sort of, if not a friendship, some sort of, positive energy vibes, with them. I think that's great.
I mean, I haven't talked to him or seen him in many, many years now, but that was because of his wife, and I respect that relationship. So I'm okay with that. Like, she said, she put her foot down and said no, and then that was the end of that.
Wow. Okay, so all right, so that was the old. What about the new? Where we are
So
today.
out with the
So
old, in with the
out with
new.
the old and with the new. So you say you met your husband, put a ring on it in just 4 months, and you said you were over the age of 40 when you met and married your husband in less than 1 year. So within 4 months, he put a ring on it, and he said, "I'm not waiting around. I'm getting this lady to the altar within a year." Oh my gosh! So okay, how did that come about?
Okay, so I believe that God would give me the desires of my heart. Like I've always felt like I was a wife. I was I would be a good mother. I always longed for that. And I wanted to be married. I wanted to be in a relationship. I wanted to be settled. Everybody likes what they like. They want what they want. That was just something that I wanted. And I think my friends even were surprised by that, because they saw me at work. Like a lot of the friends that I made, they met me in the corporate setting, and I was a general manager, and I was doing my thing and climbing the corporate ladder. But my mom was very traditional. So there was this dichotomy of somebody who's being, all business at work, but very soft and feminine at home. And I really wanted a traditional marriage. And so one of the first arguments I ever had with my husband was about roles, gender roles. Right?
Ooh,
Yeah. So maybe we can get to that. But so I wanted that. I knew God would give me the desires of my heart. And at this point, I'm almost 40, right? I think when I met him, I was 40. When I met him, I was 40. I was 40 years old. And so people would say things like a Black woman has less of a chance of getting married than they do by getting hit by
Getting hit by a bus. I've heard that too.
like lightning, right? But for me, I didn't really care what the critics said. I didn't really care what anybody else said. My mom used to say that God is not a man that he should lie, and that he said that he would give me the desires of my heart. And that's something that I really longed for. And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. And so I had my moments where I was like, maybe I had the one chance and that's the last chance I'm going to have. But I started to date, and I chose to date online. I chose to date online, and you got to kiss a whole lot of frogs before you find your friends, right? So I feel like I could write the whole book on dating. But for me, the idea of meeting somebody online made sense because I wasn't somebody who partied a lot. I didn't go out to bars. I don't drink. Like I don't know where I work all the time. Like, so I wasn't really sure how some of my friends introduced me to people, but that was it never felt quite right. So I got very clear about what I wanted. So the first thing I did was I just got very, very clear about what was important to me and what wasn't. And, there are many women, and when I was younger, I had a list too. But for me, certain things were not important, right? Where other things were, right? I wanted a man who was kind. I wanted a man who would be faithful to me. I wanted a man who loved the Lord. He didn't have to be in church every week because my husband was not in church every week. But I wanted like him to care about his mother and be kind to her, right? I just wanted, a certain kind of person. I needed him to be smart and to be able to have great conversations with me. I wasn't like, he has to make this amount of money, he has to drive this kind of car, he has to be fly, all that, I wasn't looking for that. Now, don't get me wrong. My husband has swagger. He got swagger, right?
Because you call him your fine husband.
And my husband is not super tall, right? My mom used to say, "You guys are so little, y'all so little." He's not super tall. Some of my friends are like, he had to be 6'2" or taller, but I'm not that tall either, right? But to me, he's a giant.
Oh, I love that.
So and don't get me wrong, not perfect. Neither one of us are perfect. My marriage is not perfect, but I knew what I wanted. I got clear about what was important to me. And at that age, now I'm 40, right? I spent from 30 to 40 with one guy, my ex-husband. And now, can I have children? I don't know, but I want to, right? I want to have a family. I still want to be married. I still want all those things. So I went online. I created a profile. And my girlfriends got on me about my profile, but my profile was very honest. And I talked about what I was looking for. And I said, I'm a woman who wants to treat my man like a king.
Oh.
Don't say that.
So they probably were swiping, check.
Yes. I was like, I want to cook for him. Like, I want to take care of him. Like, I want a man who's very manly. That's what I want. Like, I want him to treat me like a lady. Those are the things that I wanted. So I did that. So I put that up, and I put my picture up, and the men start coming, right?
I bet they did.
And so and I treated my online dating like a part-time job. It was a part-time. I was very clear. The more people, like, I would talk to somebody, and if they said they didn't want a family, no matter if everything else on paper looked good, if they did not want a family, then it was a no. And it was never, well, they're going to fall in love with me and they're going to want to please me and they'll change their mind. I wasn't looking for anybody to change their mind. If that's not what they wanted, then it's a no, and I'm going to move on. And I'm somebody who can fall in love easily, right? I look for the good in everybody. Like, I'm somebody who can fall in love. So for me, it was important to date. I wasn't sleeping with these men. Date, like I was going out on a date with them, and I would go on multiple dates, and I would not I would not lock into anybody. I would not lock into anybody, and I would not be by the phone waiting for anybody to call me. So even if I liked, if James was fine and I wanted to go on a date with James, but James was taking long to ask me out, and Jim came along, and he was he looked like a decent guy. He sounded like a decent guy. He was polite. And the other thing, before I went on a date with people, I spent time talking with them. So first, we wrote back and forth. I wanted to see what was coming at me, and then we talked on the phone, and we would spend hours and hours talking on the phone. So
now, when you say wrote, you mean texting or emailing?
Emailing. It was emailing
Okay.
first. I didn't get my phone number out right away. It was emailing first, and then so there was a process, but there were multiple conversations going on with people. Right?
Sure, yeah.
I was going out on dates, and I would I could have like 3 dates a week. Like, I was going out on dates with people, but I was doing that because I did not want to lock into anybody too early. And I didn't want to be by the phone waiting for somebody. Like, I really liked James, but James is not calling me, or James is not, I wasn't worried about James. I was like, let me go on my dates. God knows what I want. I'm very clear about what I want, and then let's see what happens. One thing that used to be a deal breaker for me that in my 40s was not a deal breaker for me was children, right? Because I didn't have children. I didn't want any baby mama drama. I didn't want to deal with that. But when I was when I turned 40, I was like, most of the guys who are of the age who I would date already have kids. So I need to be open to that, right?
I had that same rule until I turned 40, and then I changed, because I thought the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to these different people, going on dates, like kissing a lot of frogs. Like, you're going on a date, and you're like, this is the last date. We will not be going on a date again, right? And I had friends at the office that just couldn't wait to hear how my weekend went and how my dates went. So they could crack up. They're like, see, I told you about that online date, and you should be doing that. Like, there's crazy people out there, So I would just say to them, I hear what you're saying. There were nights that I cried. I was like, oh. But I just knew he was out there. And I kept saying to myself, God knows what I want. And I'm a normal person. I think I'm a nice person. And there has to be somebody else out there who's looking for me. He just hasn't found me yet. Like, he's looking for the same things that I'm looking for. And he's thinking these girls are crazy out here, right? But he just hasn't found me, right? And I think guys want a nice person. Like, they really want, they want, they're looking after they go out and date and they see there's no substance there. There might be a pretty package, but no substance there. They get exhausted too. Right?
Sure.
So anyway, so Bill comes along. My husband's name is Bill. He comes along and he winks, right? He winks. And I saw him, but I was on different sites, and I met him on Match.com. But I was on different sites. One site was just for I think Black people meet, or so, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that one.
I only put up like half a profile and went to like the grocery store, and I came back, there was like 75 men like trying to date you, right? And one guy was like, I don't care where you live. I will move to wherever you live. And I was like, so Bill winks. He winks. And the first time he winked, I didn't respond. And then I think he did it like a couple days later, maybe he winked again. And I was like, well, let me read this brother's profile, right? And I read his profile, and he sounded like a good guy. He was interested. He seemed interesting. He liked to travel. He was, a well-rounded guy. He likes to bike and do things for charity. He just was a really good guy on paper, but anything could be on paper, right? So we're writing back and forth just for a little bit, and he says, may I call you? And I said, sure. So we hopped on the phone call. We talked for about 45 minutes, and he goes, I would really like to take you out on a date. Like, would you go out on a date with me? And I said, sure, I would go on a date with you. And he said, okay, where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know. Like, you think of some places, I'll think of some places. Because right now, this is my part-time job. So he's one of many guys that I'm talking to on the phone when I'm not working, right? So I said, well, you think of some places, I'll think of some places, then we'll decide, right? So what he did was, like, in the next day or two, he texted me and said, I found a place that has great ratings for brunch, for a Sunday brunch. And he said, it's supposed to be wonderful. It's not too far from where you live. Would you like to go? Right. And so, you texting your girlfriends like, okay. That was a good move, right?
That's too funny.
Yeah, I said, that sounds nice. I would like that. I like that. And so the day of the date was a Sunday. He says to me, what's your address? I'll come pick you up. Now I had a rule about that because I'm dating online, right? And I live in a home and, by myself. And so I hesitated. I was like, he seems nice, but I don't know. I got that rule that we don't bring men to our home who we don't know, right? So I hesitated, and he must have read the room, right? He sensed that something was not, maybe he overstepped his boundaries. And he texted me and said, if you're not comfortable with me coming to your home, this is the address to the restaurant that has the brunch. I'm happy to meet you there. And so when he did that, I was like, okay.
He's legit.
He's legit. So I said, you can come pick me up. This is my home address. And so he came to my home, and I opened the door, and he was there, and he said hello, and he was nervous. And I remember he had on this really nice blazer, and he looked so handsome. Like, he was just well put together. He prepared himself, right? And he had flowers, and he said, do you want me to leave these flowers on the porch, or would you like them? And I said, oh no, I'll take them. And he came into my house and put them on the table. So I always tease him, because I said, I didn't invite you into my house. I said, I did not invite you in, right? But he was nervous. So we get in the car and we go to brunch, and we sit there. When you're meeting someone for the first time, the first few minutes is a little like, okay, like, what is this going to be like? Am I going to be like, texting my girlfriend, can you call me and say this emergency, got to go out of here, So we go.
I say that because I've done that before. I laugh. Too funny.
So we go to brunch, and it takes us a couple minutes to break the ice. And then we're talking, we're laughing, we're having a great time. Right. And then we're not nervous anymore. We're eating our food. We're having a good time. And so we were there. We like closed the place down. Right. They're like, brunch is over. The two of you guys can get going. So he said to me, and I had a male friend who used to tell me how you know when a man is interested in you. Right. He would say, if a guy is really interested in you, he'll try to book the next date before the first date is over, right? Yeah, He's giving me all these tips, right? He's giving me all these tips, right? He's like, he'll try to book the next date. So the date was winding down, and he said to me, do you have to go home? Like, do you need to be back home right away? And I was like, no, I don't have to leave. I don't have to go right back home. He goes, okay. He goes, because I was wondering if you want to take a walk. You want to go take a walk with me? I was like, okay, sure. So we actually got into his car, and he took me past where he lived. He took me to his development. Now, let me just tell you, me and my girlfriends, we don't play no games, right? I already knew where the brother lived. I already knew how he was living, right? Because my girls, they already did their research, right?
Detectives, yes, I got a friend just like that.
I was like, oh, you live in that development. Oh, okay, very nice. I didn't go into his house or anything. We just drove by, and he goes, I live there. I was like, okay, nice. He was very transparent. There was no game playing, like, oh, are you in a relationship? It's complicated. No, we don't do any of that. None of that. He was very transparent. So we went for a walk, and I remember to this day what I was wearing, right? But I had on like these cute I had on jeans and a cow neck shirt. Like, the girl was, I was wearing that outfit, right? Showing all the curves, right?
Showing all the curves.
All the curves, right? But I had a pair of like booties on, so they had a little heel. So when we were walking, I grabbed his arm. I held his arm, and he told me later, he's like, when you grabbed my arm, I was like, I think she likes me. I was like, I need balance. I need to hold his arm. But he was nice, right? So we go for a walk. We're still talking, getting to know each other. And maybe that was an hour or so. And then he says to me, he goes, do you like hot chocolate? I was like, yeah, I like hot chocolate. He goes, I know a gourmet place. Like, I know a great place where they have hot chocolate. We can go there. You want to go? And I was like, he likes me because he doesn't want me to go home. Like, he doesn't want to take me home.
Yeah, he's trying to keep the day going.
Yes, he wants to that was like the longest date of my life.
Well, you're still on it though. Yeah, so you're right.
I was having a good time. So I go, sure. So we go for hot chocolate. And then eventually he has to take me home, right? So then he takes me home. He gets out of the car and he comes over to give me a hug. And he said to me, and I hug him, and he says, he goes, I really enjoyed my time with you. He goes, I would like to see you again. He goes, he had season tickets to the Academy of Music in Philadelphia. So I love seeing shows and plays. And he's originally from New York. So loves the culture and all that. So he had, 2 seats, season passes. And he goes, I have passes to this show. Would you like to go with me? And I was like, I would love to. That's fantastic. So tips, ladies. He's already booking the next date, right? So he and I go on 3 dates. Now, remember, I'm still juggling right? All these other dates, right?
Right.
Having nothing, We go on our 3rd date. I can't remember what our 2nd date was, but we go on our 3rd date. It was a restaurant. And during the week, and he says to me, after dinner, I had said to myself that I had been in a relationship, a long-term relationship. And I said, I was saying to myself, I'm just going to date. Like for the next 6 months or so, I'm just going to date. I'm not going to get serious about any women, just going out on dates. Right. He goes, but then I met you and I don't want to date anybody else. I want to get to know you. And he said, so I'm taking my profile down. And he said, and I don't want to put any pressure on you. And I said, okay. He goes, I know you're dating. I know you, because I was very clear. He goes, I know you're still dating. And I said, I am dating. And he said, and I don't want to put any pressure on you. And I said, okay, I appreciate that. I said, thanks for letting me know. I said, and what I'll say to you is a lot of men say a lot of things. So we'll see. Right? He said, I'm going to be like, this is not my representative. Like, this is who I really am. And I'm going to be the same person tomorrow as I am today. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, okay. But,
somebody in the chat, I've been looking over in the chat and somebody in the chat, my weight loss twin there says, date them all, changed real quick. Love it.
So we go on our 3rd date. And then he says to me, now, first of all, he says he's okay with me dating because he knows he can't shut it down. Right. But he says to me, he goes, when are you like available to go out? Right. And I said, well, I have meetings on like Mondays and I don't know, Thursday nights. I can't go on dates. He's like, okay. And let me just tell you, my girlfriend's like, he thinks he's so slick. Let me tell you what this brother did. He booked up my calendar like I was on a date like every single night. My girlfriends were like, we don't even see you anymore. But he was so good. He would say, have you ever had Egyptian food? No. He's like, I found this amazing restaurant I'd love to take you to. Tuesday night. Could you want to go? Okay, great. There's a show on Wednesday. He's like,
yeah, so he booked you up for the week.
Even though he said he was okay with me going out dating with other people, like I couldn't date because he would just come up with such creative places to take me. He's like, Relish has jazz tonight in Philadelphia. Do you want to go? I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's do it, And so I think by the 6th date was me. He invited me to his home. So this is the first time I'm coming to his home. This is our 6th date. And we were just dating back to back. 6th date. And he made brunch for me, right? And he was all like trying his best to make the best meal he could make for me. And remember I said I was clear about what I wanted, right? I wanted a family. He had never been married before. He's 6 years older than I am. He was never married before. He didn't have any children. So now my concern is I'm starting to like this guy. Now my concern is we haven't had the conversation about children. He was a bachelor, right? He owned his place. He didn't have any children, right? And now the conversation. So after brunch, he says to me.
So how many dates in were you at this point?
8. This is the 6th
date. Right?
Okay. And we're not exclusive yet, right? This is the 6th date. And he says to me, So, so tell me, he says, so tell me, do you want to have a family? Do you want children? He asked me. And I was like, and some women might do this. Some women might say, well, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Because you really like the guy. You don't want to scare him off.
Right.
Right. And there are plenty of guys that I went on dates with that said, I do not want children. My kids are in college. I don't want to start over. I don't. And even though they were nice guys, that's not what I wanted. So I said to him, yes, I've always wanted to be a mom. Like I've always, even if I just have one child, like I want to be a mom, like I want a family. And he said, okay. And I said, how do you feel about that? And he said, well, I feel like, he goes, I love children. I would love the opportunity to be a dad. He said, but if I don't ever have kids, I'm okay. Like I'll be okay. Which was later, like God knows what he's doing. God knows what he's doing, because later down the line, when we would try to have kids, I had 2 miscarriages. And there was a guy that I dated who wanted to lock me down. Like he was like, we're going to do this. We're going to have 2 kids. We're going to have this. And my girlfriend said, even though like he was like a colonel in the Air Force, he had all the things, right?
Right.
But my girlfriend said, you dodged a bullet, because your marriage might have fallen apart because you couldn't produce a child. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was over 40. Right.
Sure.
So that's what he said. And when he said that, it was such a relief, because I was like, at least he wants what I want. Right. At least he's not somebody who's just going to say he wants it, but doesn't really. Right.
Mm-hmm. So
we had that conversation. Then after that, I said, okay, like I'm ready to date him exclusively. And I did. So we met October the 30th, the day before Halloween. I brought him home, brought him back to my house. At my house, I hosted Thanksgiving, and I invited him to Thanksgiving. And that's when he met my mom and my cousins. And they were like, does he have a brother? Does he have a brother? He went online and got this recipe for meatloaf, right? From the Food Network, right? He made this fancy meatloaf that he made.
Not the Food Network.
Yes, he had all the like special sauce, and he did the whole thing. And they loved him. Everybody loved him, right? My mom was like, you can call me mom. I was like, what? Everybody loved him. So that was Thanksgiving, and my girlfriends had a bet going. They said, these 2 are going to be engaged by Christmas. I met him October 30th, right? And I was like, I don't think we're going to be engaged by Christmas. I don't think we get engaged that fast, right? But I said to him, so we had an honest conversation. I said, I know you've been he was somebody who dated women for a long time. So he wasn't that date for, 6 months out, date for 2 weeks out. No, he was in relationships with women for like 5 years, one woman for 10 years. And, wow. And they wanted to get married. And I said, let me tell you something. That's not me. Like I want to be married. I don't have 5 years. I don't have 10 years. I don't have 3 years to wait for somebody. Like I want to just be honest with you. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to be a girlfriend. Like that's not what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I was very clear, very honest. If that meant that a nice guy would walk away, then I have to say that that's not the guy for me. So he would come to my house, like he'd have a stressful day at work and he'd come over, right? He'd be at the front door. I'd open up the door, right? He's standing there. He goes, I had a really rough day and I'm so glad to be here. I'm so happy to see you. Like, you're the best part of my whole day. Like, I was really looking forward to you. And what I would say to him was, yeah. That's all nice. All that talk, but where's my ring? Like, where's my ring at? Like, he would crack up and then he'd step into the house, right? I was like, did I invite you in? Because you don't got no ring. And I would go inside his blazer and I would pat him down. I was like, you carrying my ring? He would crack up laughing, right? And so that's how it was. Like, I put my feet in his lap and he massaged my feet and I'd cook for him. Like, I learned how to make oxtails and all kinds of stuff. And I would make meals for him, and I would always send him home with food, right? So if his family was visiting, they would say, oh, you need to marry her because she takes good care of you, right? So Christmas comes, my girlfriends are texting me like the crack of dawn on Christmas, like, is he over there? Did you get anything? And I was like, no, I did not get engaged. I do not have a ring. They're like, okay, you didn't get engaged on Christmas, New Year's. He's going to pop the question on New Year's, right? New Year's comes, New Year's goes. They're like, did you got it? Happy New Year. Did you get anything? I was like, no, no. But by that point, we started talking about settling down, like having a life together. Like, what could that look like? But I was still on the market, right? I wasn't, his wife yet. I wasn't engaged to him yet. So
now wait, but did you cut off your other online dating? Because he had you booked up, but did you eventually cut it? Okay.
Children, after we talked about that, I stopped dating other people.
Okay.
I don't know if I took my profile down, but but I wasn't dating. I didn't go out on any more dates. And there was this one guy. There was this one guy that I almost went on a date with him, but we were gonna go on a date, but he had to go on a business trip. And he goes, as soon as I come back, we're going. And he knew somebody in my family. They worked together. It was just like really odd that he's from New York, she's in North Carolina, but they both work for this big company. And they knew each other. And she said, he's a good guy. So he was also a good guy. His name was Mike. He was a good guy. Well, he said, when we come back, we're going to go on a date. But by the time he came back and we got a chance to reconnect, I said to him, there's someone else. And he goes, well, I didn't even get a chance to take you out. Let me take you out, right? And I said, there's somebody else, but I have the perfect person for you, right? He was like, you're trying to hook me up with somebody else, So anyway, we shut that down. So Christmas comes, New Year's comes, no ring. Valentine's Day is on its way, right? My girlfriends are like,
it's coming.
It's coming, Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day comes, no ring. But a couple days before Valentine's, he was acting really weird, right? I was at his place and he put a note on the door saying, when my package arrives, make sure you do this and all this stuff. And they didn't follow the instructions and he was frustrated. I'd never seen him like that. He was just like, I told him to do this. Now I got to go down to, FedEx or whatever to pick it up and blah, blah. Well, it was the week after Valentine's Day that he actually proposed to me.
What?
So it was a week after he had already taken my mom out. My father was deceased. He took my mom to dinner and asked her for my hand. He took me to Longwood Gardens. For those of you on the East Coast who know Longwood Gardens, it's a beautiful botanical garden, acres and acres. It's beautiful. And it was there that he popped the question, and he just started talking anyway, he did all the things, and then he popped and then I, of course, said yes.
Wow. Oh, what a great story. What a great story. Oh, my goodness. All right. So I'm going to show pictures, too. I have pictures. So this is a
that was
time.
For the ladies who think things have to take a long time. They do not have to take a long time. I met him on October the 30th, the day before Halloween. And we got engaged like 16 weeks later, 4 months later. We got engaged in February 21st, the week after Valentine's Day. And then we got married on May 20th. So somebody asked us, what were you guys doing this time last year? And we said, we didn't even know each other this time last year. We met and married in 7 months.
7 months. Wow. Mm-hmm. So you're right. And I know two people who got married within 6 months of meeting and knowing each other. And they're still together now, 20 years later. Now, your anniversary is the next week, May 20th. Yes. How many years?
Yes, 13 years.
13 years. Yeah, we're going to give you some confetti. Now, let's see. Hope StreamYard doesn't shut me down with this confetti. Yay! I love that. Wow, 13 years. What a great story that is. We love that. All right, so Ange, I have some questions for you. Before we do that, we have a super chat. There's a super chat. We have Simply Taisha. Simply Taisha says, I'm getting on my walking pad now. This is really a great live, ladies. Thank you, Taisha. We have to give her some love here for showing some love to the Downsizing. I love it. All right, so I want to show these pictures, Ange, of you and your hubby. I love that. Wait, let me get to it. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I love this.
Yes.
So tell us
Oh,
about those pics.
and okay, so we got married. He planned the whole wedding. Like because I felt a little self-conscious of a second wedding, right? Because I was already married and I had a big wedding at a mansion, like all the things with trumpeters and swan and all the things, right? And so the people who I invited to my second wedding were invited to my first wedding, right? So I really wanted to fly and go to, his mother lived in Vegas at the time. I didn't want like a quote unquote Vegas wedding, but I wanted to just go away, destination, just simple. But the problem was that my mom got sick and she couldn't fly because we're just gonna do like 10 people, right? And then when we decided we are gonna have it where we lived in New Jersey, we were in New Jersey at the time. His family and friends were like, "Oh no, we don't care if you don't send us an invitation. We're coming." Right? So his mother has two sons. He's the eldest of two sons, and she's never had given her child a wedding. So
Wow.
they never had a wedding. I felt like it's not fair for me to not let him have a wedding, right? So he planned everything. So he played golf at this country club. So he's like, we can get married there. I was like, okay, whatever you want to do. So we did, and we had an outdoor wedding, and then it was all glass, and then we went inside, and there's pictures of us on a golf cart and all the things. So we got married there, and he planned everything. Because one of the things that I said to him was, okay, now we got engaged in February. Like, don't, like, I'm not one to play. Like, I'm not trying to be engaged for 3 years and all. Like, that's not. He was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm not trying to be like that either. But remember, I was 40. I was 40 or maybe 41 when we got married. Maybe I turned 41 by the time we got married. And he was 46, 47, right? So he had never been married before, and he got close. He got close to it, but never. So I was like, I'm not trying to wait 3 years. Like, if we're engaged, he's like, we're getting married. Let's pick a date, right? So we picked May the 20th, and he started all the planning.
Wow. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I understand how you feel. I've talked to a couple of people that have been married the second time, and they thought, well, I don't want to do this whole big thing because I did it the first time.
I was kind of embarrassed because I felt like, marriage, your vows are sacred and that you should be married for life. But my pastor, the one who married us, told me that I should have had an annulment. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a long story, but
okay.
So
like, you can be married that long and still have an annulment?
No, my pastor, when she found out the whole story, she felt like, I have a female pastor, that she felt like I should have had an annulment right away. So there are layers to that.
Okay.
I should not, but I stayed for 10 years. I was with him because I felt like that's what you do, like, for better or for worse. Like, I really took my vows seriously. So getting married a second time, I never wanted to get a divorce, but I didn't have a choice, and I needed to make a decision because I was at a certain age, and I was like, I needed to, So
thank you for sharing that, because that kind of gives us a background into kind of what we're going to go into. So one of the things you talk about is you teach women and how to find their Boaz, right? How to find,
how to meet and marry your Boaz.
How to meet, marry your Boaz. And you said go from single, I love this, you go from a single lady to a leading lady, right? A single lady to a leading lady. And so one of the things I wonder, and we can talk about this in the chat, is when it comes to dating, especially if you're single, and even if you're married, I guess, like, what would be your fear with, in the relationship you have now? What is your fear when it comes to finding love? So if you could tell me what that is in the chat. And I have to think about this. What is mine? Why didn't I already have this thought out? I don't know. I would say my fear when it comes to finding love is finding somebody that I'm equally yoked with at this age, at 52, soon to be 53, because I feel like I'm so settled into how I do things, my routine. And I feel like somebody new coming in, it's just going to be such an adjustment. And I worry about that because it's like, how are they going to fit into what I'm already doing? And so I feel like at this age, there has to be like a lot of compromise, right? And am I ready for that? Am I mentally ready for that? And so I guess that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is not like, can I meet a man? If I'll meet a man, if I meet the man for me, because I feel like I've always been too like I'm hard to get. And then once you get me, then I feel like I'm all in. And I think one of the mistakes I've made about being all in is being so all in, right? I think I still need to let the man pursue me, even though he's got me. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where I think my struggle is. And but that's yeah, I guess if that's a fear for me. So what do you guys think? Let's see if is anybody saying this in the chat. Oh, I love this name, Team Jesus Forever. I'm Team Jesus Forever. I love that name. Tears of Joy. This is truly a beautiful love story, Ange. Looking forward to more story time with Ange. I love it. I love it. Okay, Mel says, I don't really have fears at this point. I'm very open as long as God tells me this is it. Okay, all right, very good, very good. So not a lot of people put the fears in there. All right, so you also talk about 3 secrets to attracting a man. So I want to ask the chat, do you guys know the biggest mistake people make when they're looking for love? What do you think it could possibly be? What do you think the biggest mistake could be? And even if you're married, what do you think? Like, what do you guys think? My thought wasn't the answer is. And I don't know that there's one answer, but let's just say this is an answer according to Ange. What do you guys think? Simply Taisha says settling. That's a good one. Okay. Bellflower says not being authentic in who they are and what they really want. That's a great one too. Oh my goodness. Okay. What do you think? Male B says viewing everyone as an option when they are not. I love how you put not. All right. You put that, that thing on it. All right. Any other predictions? What do you guys think? I think, somebody hit it kind of right on the head. All right, and you say, and I think this is so true, wasting your time with men that you know aren't right for you. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Because that my last relationship was that. So why do we do that? Why do you think we do that?
I think because you want it, like you want things to work out, and you're really optimistic, and you're hoping, you're hopeful, and maybe 80% of it is good, but you just know there's something that isn't in alignment with who you are, but we try to make it work, right? I've been there. I was dating somebody. Let me just tell you this. I was dating somebody long distance. He was in Virginia and I was in New Jersey. And I just loved talking to him. Like we just got along really great. But he didn't really want what I wanted. He was a little older. He had raised his family. He really didn't want what I wanted, but he wanted me. But he wanted me to compromise and settle with what he wanted, right? And I wasted my time with him. And I had the friend who was coaching me telling me, they got to book the next date before that last day. He goes, he's playing games. You're wasting your time with him, and the minute that I stopped, because we were like on again, off again. The minute I put my foot down and said, no, this is not what I want. Like, I really have to be honest. You said what you want, and I said what I want, and this is done. And so in 2 weeks, because he was taking up my man space. Don't let those men take up your man space. God couldn't bring me my husband.
Sure.
Because
yeah.
this joker was in the space, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks after I met my husband. 2 weeks. It only took 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Something. This gentleman called me, came back 6 months, like 6 or 7 months later, And I said to him, he's like, hey, do you miss me? Like, are you like, I said, I'm married. He was like, you're what? You're married? He's like, I don't believe you. There's no way you could be married. I was like, I'm married happily. And he said, let me see your ring. I don't believe you. And he didn't believe me. And because we were like on again, off again, you know?
Sure, yeah.
I didn't, I was like, as soon as I shut that door and I was decisive, then God could bring me him, could bring me Bill. And let me just say, it's not perfect. Our marriage is not perfect. I don't want you to think it's all roses and flowers. And although he is very good at roses and flowers, but he's not always, you know, the ideal of everything. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It still takes work, I'm not perfect. There are things about me that he probably thought I'm the perfect person. I'm not. So it's not perfect, but you know, we work at it, right? And so you have to be decisive about what you want, and you know, like in your heart, you know, if he doesn't treat you the way you really want to be treated, you can't stay. You can't stay, right? So that's one thing, and you probably have other questions. So I don't want to give away too much unless I'll let you lead.
Well, I was just going to go into this. So you talk about three things. I guess it's three mistakes that we often make, and I just took notes on this. And I think a lot of us have been guilty of this first one. You say pursuing men instead of allowing them to pursue you. And you said, let them call you. Stop calling them so much. Let them call you.
Yes.
And you know, I love this because I really feel this, and I know this now, and I kind of have always known it, but I find myself like in those times where, you know, you just want to date and be out here doing something, you know, you kind of let it go. But you say leading ladies don't chase men, and right, and I've been not chasing men for a couple of years now, and it feels liberating. And I'm not that I was always chasing men, because like I say, I am you know, I have a thing where, you know, it's hard to get me to open up. And but I feel like once I open up, you know, it's like I feel like I'm taking advantage of, like, you know, of you know, for being so open. And so it's hard. It's a struggle at first, but I do, you know, I can't, then I find myself like calling, you know, he didn't call, making excuses for him not to call, and calling him more. Whereas when it first started, he was pursuing. And then they flipped the script on you. And so now, you know, have learned how to not let that, you know, you're gone before you can flip that script on me now. But I love that leading ladies don't chase, and I think a lot of women do that and make excuses. And so how do we get past doing that?
Okay, so first of all, let me just tell you, like, so like I, amongst my friends, they're beautiful. My friends are gorgeous, right? They got legs, they got hips, they got all the things in the right places, right? It's really not necessarily about how attractive you are. Because at first I thought that's the only way you're gonna get, without chasing the guy, you gotta look like this. No, because I have a friend, and I think I shared that in the training, who, she's gorgeous. Like those legs, if I had those legs, I'd be dangerous, right?
Well, I like how you said, because I felt the same way. God knew what he was doing.
He knew I would be one hoochie mama.
But he made me short and sweet.
Look, he made me short and sweet. He didn't give me those tall, statuesque legs, right? That's my girlfriend Lisa. My girlfriend Lisa, she's a triathlete. She's like eloquent. She's stunning, right? God didn't give me that. Like, he didn't give me all that, right? And so, but she went on a date, and she told me, she said, Angie, I went on a date with this guy, this brother, and he said to me, you know, there's 8 of you for every one of me. So I got choices. I got options, is what he said to her. I said, I was so mad. He told me that, I was so mad. I was like, how dare he say that to you? Maybe on paper, the statistics say that, right? You live in Atlanta, these are the statistics, all that. I don't care about none of that. I said, in the whole universe, there's only one Lisa. There's only one you, and you're amazing, right? You are stunning. You're beautiful inside and out. He's never going to meet another Lisa. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what the statistics say. I don't care how many women there are to men. There's not another Lisa. And let me tell you, there are guys out there saying, I'm exhausted because I keep meeting this one and this one and this one. And she's not a woman of quality. She's like, I can hang out with her. I can kick it with her. She could be a side piece, but she can't be my wife, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, and that's what you need to, that's the kind of energy you need to go on a date with. You don't need to go on a date with like thinking, well, he's true. These are the facts.
Thinking he's the prize.
Yeah, you're the prize. You're the prize. And so, and if they don't see you as the prize, then they're not for you. Like, it's okay. So my profession, by profession, I'm a brand strategist, right? So, and I look at building brands from the inside out so that your customers, your clients fall in love with you, right? But it's the same thing in dating. It's the same framework, right? It's the same framework. And so it's important to understand who you are, even if you desire it so much. Even like I desired it so much. There were times that I cried myself to sleep because I'm like, God, I don't want to sleep alone. Like I want someone to hold me. I want somebody to hold my hand. I want somebody to go to the movies with. I want somebody to travel with. Now I will tell you, I did all those things by myself. If I wanted to see a movie, I would go. If I wanted to go to a restaurant, I'd go. If I wanted to travel and my friends couldn't go with me, I would go on I went to Europe by myself. I went to Brazil by myself.
See, I would never do that. Oh, no, no, no.
I wanted to still live my life, even though I didn't have a partner, but I always wanted it, right? However, I don't like that feeling when I'm chasing you or I'm waiting for you to call me. It makes me feel like I'm not valuable. It makes me feel, one of the things that I said to my husband, we wrote our vows in a book. He took the pictures from our wedding and he made a storybook out of it. And one of the things he asked, like for this one page, are promises. And I said, I want you to cherish me. You know, I want you to really value having me, you know? And so he put, I will always cherish you in in the book. That's important to me. I need to feel like the guy, if I felt like a guy was like, say he's hanging out with his buddies, like, yeah, she all right. She, you know, if I overheard that, it would hurt my feelings. And that would be something I couldn't get over. Because I would feel like behind my back, you don't treat me like you should be the guy that says, man, don't talk about my girl. Like
Sure, yeah.
Like I need, like for me, knowing who I am, I need that. And so I think it's important, even though you want things, and that's why part of the strategy is to keep dating, because when you put all your eggs in one basket, you feel like you need to protect that basket, right?
Yes, yeah.
No, I don't care how handsome you are. I don't care how handsome you are. I'm not chasing you. And let me tell you, that guy I told you about, that story about that said you're a beautiful woman, he was handsome. He was really a good-looking guy. And I actually did an event. I had a Be Brilliant retreat or conference, and I had all these women come in, and I had them put questions in like a fishbowl, and I had men on the panel so that the women could ask the men questions. Some of them, the women that were shy, they didn't want to ask, so they put it on a piece of paper and put it in the fishbowl, and some of them asked. And one woman asked this guy, he's fine. They asked him, how do you feel about a woman pursuing you? Like, how do you feel about that? And he said, he's such a gentleman. He said, I would be flattered. He goes, in the beginning, I would be flattered. Like that, you know, it feeds the ego, right? That the woman wants you. Like you don't have to do anything. You can lay back and she's coming to you, like asking you out. He goes, but that would take something away from me. Like I really want to pursue her. Like I really want to be able to show her that I'm interested in her. So I feel like that. And he said, I feel like that's my role. So she and I said, there are things you can do to let them know you're interested, right? You can smile. You can say hello when he says hello to you, right? You can just be your cheery, wonderful self, because men love to make women happy. So that we got charm. You know, women, God gave us skills, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And God gave us skills, right? You could walk by smelling pretty, right? You know, all the things. But and this is very old fashioned. So people who know me in business would say, I can't believe you're saying that. Like I met my husband and I pursued him. And there are situations like that. I asked him to marry me. I would never ask a man to marry me. Because I think I would always be wondering, did he was he ready to marry me? Like, did he really want, he didn't ask, I don't know. I would be always wondering. So I say, get your mindset right. Before you go on a date, like play your music. Every girl should have a theme song, right? Every girl should have a theme song. Like for me, it's 2 songs I'm playing. I'm playing She's a Bad Mama Jamma, or I'm playing Brick House, right? So I playing in my head before I go into it. I want to shift that energy, right? I want to shift the energy. The other thing is I didn't take the guys too seriously. Like I always felt like this on job interviews too, that I really wanted to be fully myself. Like that if I could go on a job interview and I could be fully myself and I didn't get the job, it's okay. Because I was myself, right?
Right.
And if I go on a date and I'm fully myself and I'm just having fun, like we're just gonna have fun on this date. Like maybe it's my husband, I don't know, maybe not, but I just want to have a good time, then I would just go and have a good time versus being so nervous. And it's normal to have butterflies, but I really wanted the men to get to see me, like who I really am, not somebody
the representative.
or a representative, right?
Well, and I love that. And you also talk about leveraging visibility. So, which is a problem for me, right? Because, I'm not out and about. People always say you can meet somebody I'm like you. I'm not a drinker, not a smoker. I don't really like the bar scene. I will go out with girlfriends or meet for somebody's this or that, but that's not my thing to choose to do. And so I'm like, where am I going to meet these guys? And then, I've met guys at the gas station, at the grocery store,
you're going to attract guys wherever you go. You're going to attract.
Thank you. So, I've met guys different places, but, it's like, I feel like when I'm at the grocery store doing something, my mind is not on that. I'm like, I'm doing some things, right? I'm trying to slim down. You're right. So, but I feel like when I'm out and about and and maybe that's, maybe I shouldn't even be focused on it too much like that. But when I'm out and about and looking for it, I feel like the guys don't approach. They look, but they don't necessarily approach. And so, but I'm not always visible either. I'm not really out and about as much as I probably need to be. And there is a fear of putting yourself out there too. Okay, I do see that.
Okay, so let's just have this conversation. It's the same framework as it being in business, right?
Yeah.
Initially, when you had your channel, you aren't really putting yourself out there. You put yourself out there and look at the community you built. You've attracted all of these people, like-minded, wonderful people to your community because you put yourself out there. The first thing about being clear about what you want. Somebody else in the chat, I don't remember who said it, but you're not dating everybody. You're not for everybody, right? Just like you're building a brand. Your brand is not for everybody. You're an entrepreneur. You want to sell to, you're not selling to everybody. You're talking to a specific person, right? You're looking for a specific person. For those of you who want to be married, you're looking for your husband. You're not looking for, Joe who just wants to have a great time. So when Joe who just wants to have a great time comes along, if you're clear and anchored in that, then you just say, hey, Joe, high five, keep it moving, right? Like, I can talk to you. We can laugh all day. There are men who I became friends with, and they're like, I'm going to marry you someday. I'm going to marry you. And I said to them, I'm never going to marry you. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, you're not marriage material for me. Like, you're not, you're cool. We're cool, but you're not my husband. Right? Yeah. So being clear about what you want will keep you from wasting time, right? And then you're visible. What I had a coach used to say, unless he's the FedEx man, the UPS man, or the mailman, right? Delivering to your front door, you're probably not going to meet him if you're not visible, if you don't put yourself.
That's true. That is so true. That was a great analogy with my channel, because I remember that's how, when we used to connect, when I first was coming on your channel, you were like, why aren't you showing your face?
I wanted to see you. I wanted to connect with the person, right?
Yes,
and I said, look, you're beautiful. Like, I don't even know why you weren't coming on. I have no idea. Like, you're stunning, and you have a beautiful smile, and you're so warm, and people are attracted to that. People are attracted. It's the
Yeah.
same thing in dating. It's the same exact thing.
Well, I think because I'm a very private person though too. That's the main thing. And even when my dating situations, I feel like yeah, I'm like private about all that stuff. I don't know. My mom was that way, and it just that's how I
And
was
I think
raised.
our generation, we're probably around the same age. I'm probably older than you, but we're probably around the same age. But I will tell you that I wasn't always comfortable putting myself out there either. But there was something on the other side of the fear of that I wanted.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but my husband lived in a town, the next town over. He was about 20 minutes door to door to my home. I never would have met him. I didn't know any of the people he knew. I didn't run in the circles he ran in. Like if it was not for being online, I would not have met him.
And I like how you said, he was right near you and you would have never met him. You didn't run in the same circles. So that's a thought, because you always hear and think that online is such a scary thing, and that it's not quality people on there. And I don't know if you hear, you always hear the headline of stories where it didn't work out, but I have heard some beautiful stories like yours where it did. So
Yeah.
that's just something I
Don't
have to.
get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there that are not a fit for you.
Yes.
They're not a fit for you, but they're going to come for you because they're like, oh, she's cute. I want to marry her, right? I want to take her. Like, they want to come for you, but when you're clear, it's easy to see them. Like, it's easy to say yes,
True.
Yes, no. It's easy.
You're right.
Yeah.
And
there were some men who said no to me. They said no, like you want a family? Oh no, no. I'm telling you right now, that's not what I want. So I'm like, okay, nice knowing you. Thanks for the call.
Yeah. Well, that leads us right into the third thing you say. You have to show up and shine, which is what you just told me, basically, in so many words. So explain that. And you say the fear of this is pretending to be, which I think this happens a lot. Like I call it your representative showing up. You pretending to be something you aren't because you think that's what he likes, as opposed to this is what I like. Either he accepts that or he doesn't.
Right. Either you didn't do step one to get really clear about what you want, because maybe some women have been in relationships all their life. Like they haven't had a chance to breathe, to even think about what they like. Like one of the things that I did in one of the workshops that I had was, the 5 love languages. Well, we did the 5 love languages from the perspective of what do you need to feel loved? Like maybe your partner is somebody who is a talker, right? Like I have a good girlfriend. She is auditory. Like she loves words of affirmation, right? And so when she's in a relationship with someone, she wants them to call her, to text her, to write her cards, and she loves that. I'm not a words of affirmation person. Like you can talk, say whatever you want to say. To me, acts of service. Let me see, do it.
Yes.
Do it. Where's my ring? You can say you love me, you enjoy my time. Yeah. Where's my ring?
I love that. You said, where's my ring?
Yeah, that's all nice. All that is nice. Like all the guys say that. But what are the actions that support what you're saying? So like, that's what I need to feel loved, right? So it's important to, and then when you're dating a guy, you can take the quiz and see what his love language is and what he needs, right? But in our retreat, I wanted the women to be centered and think about, when is it that you feel loved and cherished and, valued in a relationship? Like what is it when the guy is buying you gifts? Is it when the guy is saying, talking and talk, like all smooth and, what is it that he does that makes me feel like when I was dating Chester, he used to do this, like anything I wanted, he would do, that made me feel like he really cared because he went out of his way to do it. Right. So you have to think about what it is for you, what's important for you. And so as far as showing up and shining, it's not just being visible because, you could just sit there and be pretty and say, I'm just going to have a salad. Right. And then, we are on GLP-1 medication, right? So, but you better put some protein on that.
And I get some salmon on that salad.
Right? I want you, to really show up. And I say, like, when I meet people, I think that's a gift that I can just see them. Like so oftentimes I just want to hold a mirror up to you because I couldn't see myself always, right? I couldn't see myself
Sure.
always.
Yeah.
Mom used to tell me things. She would just pour into me. And I'd be like, Mom, you're saying that because you're my mom, right? All mothers say that to their kids, right?
Yeah.
But I'm able to do that for other people, right? Especially women. And I'm like, you are a bad sister. Like, do you know who you are? Like oftentimes one of the stories that I tell is about, if I can share it, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. I used to work, I'm always having like 15 jobs, but when I was in college, I was working my way through college. I was a checkout. I had two jobs, right? I worked at a museum, right? At the University of Pennsylvania. I worked at the Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology in their gift shop. And I was a checkout girl at night at like the Thriftway, right? And so I had a woman come down my aisle. She had a cute sweater set on, and she had this beautiful Native American Zuni pin on. And as she came down my aisle, I said, "That's a beautiful pin." I said, "Where did you get that from?" And she said, "Oh, I got this." I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, I got this at a yard sale. It was like in a box with like a bunch of junk, and they charged me $1.50." I was like, "You guys," she said, "it was in the bottom of the box with all this other stuff, and some stuff I kept, some stuff I threw away, but I thought it was a cute pin, so I wear it from time to time." And I said, "Do you want to sell it?" And she was like, "Not now, not now." I said, "That's very valuable." It was set in sterling silver. It was coral. It was turquoise. It was black onyx. It was beautiful. But I knew the value of the pin because of where I worked. And I would read books that were in the gift shop that talked about the jewelry. And I sold the jewelry. So I knew, as my little college job, I like knew. And sometimes I would wear like a black turtleneck and I'd wear the jewelry, right? So I knew the value of what she was wearing, but she didn't. And the person who sold it to her really didn't know the value of it. And I always say that when we don't know our value, we will give it away, we'll throw it away, we'll throw it away, or we'll sell it cheap. And so I think it's really important that we understand who we be in the world, right? Who God made us to be. Like I was doing research on, when God says in the Bible that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I was doing research on that, and it was like the heavens were in awe when you were created. Like, that He knew you before you were in your mother's womb. Like you're so precious to Him. But somehow we get here and we live life and we have mistakes and everything's not perfect, and we start to we start to diminish our value. Like we start to feel like, well, maybe I'm not all that in a bag of chips. Like maybe I'm not. But God said you are.
God
right?
said you are.
He says you are. So I like to hold a mirror up to my sisters and say, I don't care if that guy said there's 8 men to every girl. You go out with one of those girls. But there's only one, downsizing diva, right?
Yes.
You're not the downsizing diva, right?
Yes.
And so if you can see yourself, the way that God sees you, the way that the people who love you and know you see you, girl, you wouldn't be wasting your time on nobody. You'd be like, I got to go. Right?
Yes, to get out of here.
I got to go, right?
Yes. I love that.
So when I say show up and shine, I'm talking about allowing Him to really see you, not your representative, for you to be authentic in that space. And I will tell you, because I help build brands, that is the reason why your channel has success. That is the reason why my channel has success, because we show up, we're vulnerable, we're authentic, right? We're showing our true self, right? And people know that. People can feel that. They can tell the difference, right? And we shine. Like you are absolutely brilliant online. And that's why people are attracted to you. So you're not chasing people. You're not going to other people's community like, can you come and join my channel? You can show up, have fun, you have a good time. And people want to be a part of that. And so do men. Men want to be a part of that, or partners want to be a part of that.
Yes. And I love how you say because, a lot of women in the chat, this was, when we first started this months ago, so many women, this stood out to me, and I'm a smiler, I smile everywhere I go, and I attribute that to like my parents. Like I just have joy in my heart.
Mhm.
And so, it's hard to catch me with a frown, even though you can. And people think something is seriously wrong. But I
Mhm.
love how you say when he sees you smile, he knows he can make you happy. I think that is so important because I have a friend and she is beautiful, gorgeous, and she's always told by, guys, like she'll ask, like, why did you not talk to me? Or, if we're all talking and, she'll say, would you have approached me? And they always tell her she looks so mean. They tell her she's mean mugging. She's heard that a couple times. And so she always looks so, unhappy. And I always thought it was because she was overweight. She was, close to 300 pounds. Well, she's since lost probably 120 plus pounds. So she is like, she's down
She a
there in
brick
the
house
in
now.
the 120s. Yeah. Well, she was a brick house then. I don't know if she's still a brick house, but she has it going on. I mean, she's beautiful. And
Mhm.
so it just brought out, and I always tell people that's overweight this, when you slim down and people say you're beautiful now, you were beautiful then, it just, brings out your features, which I see with her. She was beautiful then, slimming down has brought her features out, but she still has that mean mug. And so I say, and it has to come from within too. Like I say, when people lose weight, you still have to have that beauty. The beauty it really does come from within, because when you see her, she still, she will have pictures where she may smile here and there, but she still has that going on, because all the things that made her that way are still there. The weight just is not, but all the other issues are there. And so I love that, because when you say like he needs to know he can make you happy, I guess a smile would give you that clue, right? That this is a
Yes,
happy person. I
yes.
can make her happy. I can keep her happy.
Yes, he does. And you know what's very attractive?
Confidence.
Yes. And so if you're smiling and you're not like you're like, I got this, I got this, like I'm good, I'm good. No matter what you say, I'm good. When you can smile and laugh, I went to on a date with this guy. He was a lawyer, right? And I don't think I've dated a lawyer before, but he was like, give me all his credentials. And he was like, oh yeah, like one time he called me, he's like, oh yeah, I was busy today because they invited me to the boule. And I right? And I was like, the bootleg. He's like, well, do you know what that is? I was like, what's that? Right? He's like, oh, it's an exclusive, But I go, please. I was like, stop bragging, right? And he was like, you're talking to me like that, like, and we just bust out laughing. We just start cracking up laughing, right? I was like, you ain't all that, right? He's like, what? Like, women are like beat down the doors to go out with me. I'm like, okay, whatever, right? But I think when you don't take yourself too seriously, like I'm not perfect, like I might be eating dinner and have spinach in my teeth, right? I'm not. I would laugh about it. Like I would just be like,
Right.
I can't see, like I can't see it, But I think it's the confidence that's very attractive. Like if you go with your theme song, you get your dress on, right? Sometimes I ask my husband, I was like, should I put my freak on dress? Like, where you taking me tonight? Where are we going on a date, right? He'll crack up because he's conservative. He'll crack up.
Uh-huh.
But if you start off, like, get yourself ready, right? Get yourself ready for your date. Get your theme song playing. Lift your spirits. Like, it's not desperation. Desperation is not attractive, right? It's not desperation. It's confidence, right? And you're like, I would love for my date to go well, but if it doesn't, maybe I'll just make a good friend. Like, don't put that pressure on the date. Like, just say, God's gonna send me the one that I want. I'm a woman of faith, so that's what I would say, right? And go and just have a good time. Like, be listening to your theme song when you walk in to meet him, right? You walk through the door, you're like, she's a brick house, right? Like, you walking in, and he's like, who is that? Like, that energy, people can feel the energy.
That's so true. That's so
So
true.
so when you go, so that, and that can be, you can have that confidence at any size.
And I tell people that I see a lot of people though in our GLP-1 community are lacking confidence. I do see that. And I always say, when I was 300 plus pounds, I always felt, even though now sometimes I would have to, as I got bigger up to that 300 plus pound mark, sometimes I would have to like talk myself into going places because the
Mhm.
clothes didn't fit. I didn't think I
Mhm.
looked right, and I was telling somebody the other day, it was places where I knew it would be people who knew me when I was smaller, because I would be embarrassed, like, now I've gained this weight. But once I decided to go, I'm walking in there and I am the brick house. I mean, my confidence level is up. My energy is up. Once I decide to go, I'm there and I'm just going to make the best stuff out of it. And,
Mhm.
and so I never had a problem with that. But I did get to the point where I had to work myself up to that. And,
Mhm.
last week, maybe was this last week or 2 weeks ago, this was a guy that came in the chat on this Friday, and he said he's fat. He says, I'm fat, and basically he doesn't care what anybody says. If you're fat and everybody's not attractive, if you're fat and you're ugly, you're not going to find love. And he didn't think he could find it, or anybody wanted him. And I tried telling him, I mean, I don't know what people's idea of not attractive is, but I've seen some people who would be categorized as that, and they are married. They are married, and they're walking in with their husband, or they're walking in with their wife to dinner, and they are together with somebody. So I think in that person had confidence. I know so many people with confidence that maybe they're not the traditional, what we would say is attractive, but
Mhm.
they have somebody. And so
Mhm.
it starts there. How do you get people to get that confidence, though? How do you
I think
boost that?
it might take baby steps. I think thinking about the things that you are good at, like maybe you're confident at work, but you're not confident on a date, right? It's okay. I would do things to make myself feel better, right? So that my
Okay.
energy is good. So the things that I do, and some of you know from the community, like, is I'll shop in my closet, right? I like clothes. I want to look good in my clothes because I feel like if I look good in my clothes, like if I feel like I'm together, that, like, people would always say you're plus size, but you always look great. Like, your clothes, you always, but that makes me feel good. That makes me feel more confident than if I was all frumpy wearing, something that I
Mm-hmm.
was not attractive. I'm not gonna be my most confident self. Right. So
Exactly.
you're doing your hair, you're doing your makeup, like, how, whatever it is, it maybe you're just in a t-shirt and jeans, but you feel cool. You're like, I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just things that you pour into yourself that makes you feel good. Like, I will tell you, like, I've had that feel like I'm a brick house. I'm listen to that music and go to a party and nobody sees me in the whole room. I'm like, nobody's picking me, right? I'm like, I think I'm cute, but nobody picks me, right? But online it's different because there's so many people. It's not like 50 people at a party. It's like, you know, 10,000 people, right? And then they come and you get to choose who you want,
Right.
right?
Right.
You have more options than some, and you might go be online and then end up meeting your guy in the grocery store, right? That can happen,
Right.
right? I
That
met
could happen.
somebody going to Blockbuster one night, those things do happen too. But I think confidence, it might be just take baby steps. Like, think about things that you're really good at that you can celebrate yourself about, and then do things to make you feel better, right? If you look at
Mm-hmm.
a hot mess, you're probably not going to feel your best.
I agree. I agree. And I do. And I don't want to, put so much into looks, but honestly, it does start there. And it's not about like looks, like your natural looks. It's about doing what you need to do to make yourself feel good. And I don't care who you are. There has been a time where you looked at yourself and thought, I look pretty good. Go
Mhm.
with that. If you got to wear that outfit, you got to put that hair together, you got to get that haircut, go with that, and strut your stuff somewhere. And I do think that people kind of need that boost. So I'm glad people are losing weight. But I always say, though, you also got to have it from within, because you can gain the weight back, right?
Yeah,
Just like your husband has to love you for who you are, because you could be,
yeah.
bigger or you could be smaller. So it's the same thing with that confidence. And I
And
think
there's somebody for everybody, right? Like, there's some
exactly.
men who don't want a super skinny woman. There's some men who like women with a little meat on their bones, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then there are some men
Well,
who
here
want,
I am. Here
here
I
I am.
Now I wanted to ask you, because we have It's Darium. Do not go in the bushes now that you got Downsizing Diva, Mel, and Ange on the line.
Wait, is Darium here? He's
It's
here.
Darium is here. The famous
Oh,
It's
hi.
Darium. He is here. All right. So we wanted to ask you, and so it's Darian made this famous comment one night. He said, "You guys, you ladies need to be more soft and pink." And so, and you use the word soft too. You say soft and feminine. Can you tell us, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Okay, so I'm attracted to a masculine man, not someone who's controlling or hey, so good to see you. Hello.
He's going back in the bushes now that we said his name.
We need your masculine energy in the room. We were actually praising you. We were sending really good vibes your way, saying really nice things about you, because you're always you are such an eloquent person in the way that you present your ideas. You're very thoughtful and insightful, and we appreciate you.
We do. So we were talking about him before we went online.
We were. We love our few good men. We love our few good men. So so my mom was very traditional, right? Even though I worked in corporate America, did all the things, was climbing the corporate ladder. I like to be, and my father was somebody who would, carry my luggage to the car and, do things for me, treat me like a lady. I want to be with a man who treats me like a lady. I don't want to be not that I don't want to have a voice in our relationship, I do, but I want to know that I'm with a man who can lead, because if not, I will take charge, right?
Yes.
When I take charge, I'm taking charge all day at work. I don't want to take charge at my home. I want to be able to relax and know that he's got me, like I want to know that, that I'm with someone who's strong and confident, because I'm attracted to confidence too. I want to feel feminine around my partner. That's important to me. That's the feeling, like when he goes out and he takes time to, buy me a bouquet of flowers, when he's trying to make the best experience for me, like I let him. I don't say, no, do this, do that. Nope. And whatever he does, I love it. Whatever he does, I love it because of the thought that he put into it, because I'm feeling cherished. I'm feeling valued when he does that. I save every single card that he ever gave me. I have a scrapbook. Wow. When we were dating, I had a scrapbook. Every play we went to, the pictures we took, all the way to the wedding day. I can go look through my scrapbook. Like, remember when we went to Vegas? Remember when we did this? When we played tennis for the first time? This was a restaurant that we went to. I value all those things. Like, that was part of our story. And so I want him to feel respected as the man in our house. I want him to feel like I honor him, and I want to feel like that I'm a lady. I'm not his brother, like his bro. Like I'm not like I don't want him to treat me like that. Like if he's like, "Can you take out the trash? Can you?" I'd be like, well, like. So, and I know some of you women are like, that is so old fashioned. But that's what I like. And so our very first argument, remember I told you this earlier, right? We were working on trying to fix something. Like we were in the loft of the house trying to fix the projector. So we watch it on the screen, like the whole thing, right? Movie night. And we couldn't fix something. He was up helping me. He goes, "You know what? I'm just going to go downstairs and start dinner." And I got so mad. Right? I was like, "You're going to start dinner? Like, that's my job. Like, that's my role. Like, stay in your lane." Right? He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, what are you talking about? It's getting late. We need to eat. Like, I'm going to make us something to eat. I was like, whatever, and later we unpacked that and talked about it. And I was really pissed off. I was like, that's what I do. I cook. Right? My girlfriends were like, "Ange, are you crazy? This man wants to cook. Like, what is your problem? Let him cook." Right.
Yeah.
Now, like if I'm working late, if I'm doing my videos, like last night I recorded my video for our channel, and he left me dinner out. I didn't get back to our apartment until late. There was dinner waiting for me there. He stays up late. He'll wash the dishes. He works 2 jobs. Like we got a lot of jobs, but he works 2 jobs, and he still does those things.
Oh wow.
So, So I had to say, okay, like it doesn't have to be fit into this box, right? You got to be a little bit fluid with it, right? But I do like feeling like a lady, and I want to be treated like that. I don't want to be treated rough in a rough way, because that doesn't make me attracted to the man. Like if he treated me like that, I'd be like, what? You know, if he was like, you got us, right? Like, and you know, financially, we both can do all those things. But when we went out on dates, when we were dating, he was picking the places. Later on, like I would cook for him, but he was picking the dates. He was really creative, but he would always ask me, like, what do you think about that? Would you like to go there? I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I love that. You're so good. You're so creative. Like, I love that.
Now,
So
did he always pay?
in the beginning, yes, until I start, like I would say, if I invited him out somewhere, like I want to take you someplace, then I would pay. Right. But in the beginning, yes, he did.
Okay.
He
I
did.
like that. I like that.
And it's not about the money. Like it's really about the care and like how I want someone that has a desire to want to do those things. Now,
Right.
again, everything's not perfect. I don't want y'all to think everything's perfect. It's not. And I don't know that any relationship is perfect, but those are things that I like. And I know because of my first marriage, I was the more dominant of the two. I was like,
No, okay.
my husband was an introvert and he was very shy. My husband now is not.
Yeah.
Right. He's a very sophisticated man. You can bring him anywhere. He can be in any room. And we're like, we go into a room and we can, like, he can go to that section and talk to people, strangers. I can go to this section and talk to strangers. And then we can be back together. It's fantastic. I love that. I don't like going into a restaurant and they say, how many people? And it's silent. Like I need to say, because I will take
Yeah.
charge. I will take
Me
charge.
too. Me
There's
too.
two of us. There's two of us. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want
That's
that.
why I say I don't want to be a boss lady in the relationship. I don't. So and I've learned that, you know, I've been like you, the opposite before, and that's not going to work for me because I need somebody to say, no, this is what we're doing, and I like that. This is what we're doing. This is how
I
we're
like
doing it. Plan things.
But I will say everybody's different. And some women are like, no, I like a man who's more docile. I like a man who lets me rule, gives me my way, like lets me that, and that might work for them if she finds the right man. Like my man would not be happy with that. Like, he would not be happy with that. Like but he's very progressive. Like he's not, my husband's not like a caveman at all. He's very sophisticated. I told you he'll make dinner. One of the things that I love that he does, and he's good to his mother, right? He's very thoughtful and kind to his mother, which was a great example for me of how he would be with me.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that he does to this day, 13 years in, is when he's on his way, he texts me tonight, I'm on my way home from work. He'll be like, I'm on my way home from work. I'm in the garage. He'll say, I'm at, you know, the Giant or the supermarket or Wegmans. Is there anything you want? Is there anything you need? Is there anything I can bring you back? All the time he does that. And I think that's so nice.
That is so nice.
Right?
Now, did you have that growing up? Did you have that model of a relationship or the kind of guy you was looking for with how you grew up? Because I feel like for me, I say financial stability is important because I'm just that's what I've grown up with. You know, my dad was the provider in the relationship. And then, my mom got married a second time. My stepdad is that way. Just gentlemen, and I've always had dated guys where they never let me pay, right? They never let me pay. In order for me to pay, I'd have to arrange it to go ahead of time if I knew we were going somewhere. Or just like, I went out with my dad for Mother's Day. We went out to dinner, like a brunch, really. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to order some things for my daughter to take home, but I didn't want him to have to pay for it. So I had to go and, get that waitress and do it off on the side so that he wouldn't pay for it all. So I'm used to that sort of thing. So So I think that's going to be a challenge for me with a guy, because I'm used to a guy being the financial provider, even though I can provide for myself. I do well for myself, but I'm just so used to that, because that's the dynamic I've seen. My mom didn't work, for a long time. And then I feel like when she got a job, I mean, that's another show, but the relationship just blew up after she became, went out into the workforce. But so I'm used to seeing the man being the provider. So that really is important for me. And that's what I grew up seeing and knowing. And still to this day, I'm experiencing that.
Let me just say this. Let me say this. I want to be with a man who wants to provide for his family, but that it may be a situation where he may not always be able to do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like, it's the desire in his heart to want to provide. And there are different ways that men can do that. So for the ladies who are listening, I don't want that to be a deal breaker, right? Let's say you meet somebody and he is currently unemployed, right? But he can get a job, like, or you date him, he has a good job and then he loses it. Let's say he works for the government. He had a great job and he was there he has stability, and now he doesn't, right? So I would say, look at the whole picture. And some things are just deal breakers for you, and that's okay. But I want you to really be mindful about the things that, are real deal breakers and the things that are not. Like, I am very generous. Like, I'm not somebody I don't have a problem paying for anything for my husband. Like, and one of the best birthdays I ever gave him was, I planned everything. I paid for everything. And he wanted to go see Hamilton in New York City. He wanted to see it, but he would not pay $500 per ticket to go see it. He would not. So I bought the ticket because I was like, what can I give him? Like, a lot of things that he wants, he just goes and buys it. So I bought the Hamilton tickets. I called the hotel. I told them that this was something that I wanted to make really special for him. I wanted restaurant recommendations, all the things. And I was able to get this beautiful suite in New York City, right? I got a good deal on it. And then we went everything was staged. He didn't even know. Everything was staged. And when we went to dinner, I told them, I don't want the bill to come to the table. I just want I'm going to give you a printout of the Hamilton logo, and it says 8 p.m. at the bottom. I want that in the billfold when you give it to him. Right?
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
So I don't have a problem paying for stuff. Like, I don't want, like, once you get married, like, it's like your money. Like,
yeah. But I know that's a thing that we hear a lot, when you're dating, or when people say they want somebody that's financially stable, you always hear pushback, or people say you're being picky. And we had this relationship coach on, and she said, if you're going to be picky about anything, that's the thing you should be picky about, is who you're going to spend your life with. And I agree with that. I agree. And I'm not saying, because anybody can lose their job or anything like that. But, somebody who has like a history of if you look at my work history, I've had a job since I was 14.
Me too.
I'm not like, so I'm not somebody that's going to sit around at all and, need to be pampered that way. I'm always going to, and I plan on retiring next year, but I'm planning on working somewhere else too. So, and I see that. I see myself doing that, but I also want somebody else who, if I lost my job tomorrow, I'd be in law school. That's my next job I would want to have. I'd be a 60-year-old graduate from law school.
Let me
just say, YouTube University either.
That's right.
I'd be going to the Ohio State University. But no, seriously, that's what I would do. So I guess I'm looking for that, like somebody who, if you lost your job, are you the one that's just going to be, oh, woe is me, and sit around and now I'm taking care of everything? Or are you going to be one of those ones that's going to get out and get it and go get it somewhere else? Because that's what I would do.
Yes, I love that you're saying that. I love that you're saying that, because my husband has lost many jobs, because of different reasons over the 13 years that we were together. But one of the things that was really important to me is, I used to always say this. I used to say it since I was in my 20s, that one of the things that I really want was a man who was really smart and resourceful, right? And a go-getter, right? And I said, because he doesn't necessarily have to be making six figures right now. But if he's smart, he'll figure it out. Like, he'll be able to figure out how to provide for a family. He'll be able to figure out how to get a job. He'll be able to figure out, how to make things work if he's smart and he's resourceful. And so that was more important to me than does he drive, this X car? Does he have, because those are images of success, of wealth, or whatever, right? But to me, life is not always going to be that. But do you have somebody that's like I remember I was doing really well, and I was like, he lost his job. And I said, why don't you just take a break? Like, why don't you just chill for a minute? Like, take a long vacation, like just, relax. He was like, I can't do that. He was looking for a job, like that was his job. And he always lands jobs. Like, he's really smart and well educated. He always finds stuff. But he couldn't. He was like, if it was me, I'd be like, let me just chill.
I'll take a break.
Let me just take at least 2 weeks before I call another place, right? But I was looking for the quality in the man, like somebody who was really smart and very resourceful, right? So those, I think, are more important than what they currently have. And let me just tell you, I'm going to be vulnerable. My credit score is okay. I'm an entrepreneur, so I've invested in a lot of different things. So my credit score has been fantastic. His credit score, I was like, I didn't even know it went that high. Right? I was like, what is your credit score? He's like, we need to clean up your credit, right? And he did. He helped me. I was like, well, what I got to do? Oh, I have to look at it.
Yes, I love that.
Keep an eye on. He's like, yes, let's look at all your bills. Let's get them paid. Let's get this stuff cleaned up. Let's, So I
love that. So he's an asset to you. It's because you always hear a lot of times women doing things like that. So it's nice to hear the opposite nowadays. Now, back in the day, you always, I've always heard about the guy being a provider and this and that. But now here recently, we hear how these women have it going on. They're educated, 2 and 3 degrees. They're doctors, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so. And so now it's, I feel bad for these men, some of these men, because, it's like these women are doing it. They're out here doing it.
I'm curious about your audience. I'm curious to know, do they feel like men are intimidated by them? I'm curious about the men who are in the audience. Do you feel like a woman is too much? Like, do you want her to just relax a little bit? Like, I'm curious about that, because I hear women say, oh, they didn't like, I have all these degrees and I'm hiding that because they get intimidated and blah, 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 blah. Like, is that true?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, this is what Mel says. Well, at 50 years old, things are and should be quite different. I pray that a man has a pension, savings, and a 401k. Well, the stock market is, So, that's another thing, Ange. Now, Mel and I say this, but, I'm an educator, so I have a teacher's pension. And I say here, if you, it's like this in a lot of places. It used to be when you married somebody, you had to be married for 7 years before they would get half of your pension. Now it's like soon as you sign on that dotted line. So I always say I want somebody that has their own situation going on with some sort of pension 401k, because I have a young daughter, and I don't.
She is so cute.
Thank you. And I now I have to be more thoughtful and strategic.
Would you get a prenup?
I would get a prenup, but I don't, so I meet with my financial advisor in July to plan, I may even do it sooner, to plan out this, my retirement. And, I have a trust, I have insurance not related to my job. I always tell people, get insurance that is not related to your job, because if you lose that job, you lose that insurance. So I have all my ducks in a row, as far as I know now. I might go to this financial advisor and he's like, you need another duck. But right now I have that pretty much. And that's one of the things I want to ask him, this pension, if I get a prenup, because I was at this meeting earlier this year and they made it sound like it's, like you got to do more than just get that prenup. So whatever it is you got to do so I can protect that for my daughter, that's what I'm going to do.
And I would think anybody you meet who's the right person will understand that.
Yeah, that's what I say too. I say that too. Mm-hmm. All right. So what do you think about Mel's comment when she says she wants somebody with a pension, a savings? Because that sounds to like, people like it's Darium that that she's thinking finances first. But do you think that there should be that kind of thinking and a shift when you're older and more established?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Or are
I'm
you asking
asking you. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
asking you.
okay. I think I understand that. Like she wants I'm sure she's built wealth for herself, and she wants to make sure that the person she meets is not like doesn't have anything, right? But I
Yeah,
think if she looks for the qualities that she's interested in, that person is gonna have be together, right? Unless something happened, right? I think the person's gonna be because it's hard to have somebody who has a certain values who doesn't have those things. Right? Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like certain things go
yeah,
with each other. They go with each
yeah.
other.
Kind of
Um,
hand in hand.
yes. And do I think I would want to know the whole story, right? Because I would want to know, did something happen? Were they married? Did they get a divorce? And did she take everything? Right? Or did he take everything? Like what, where am I meeting you at now? Like, would I totally discard somebody who didn't have a 401k, who didn't have a pension? I would not. I would not. If we could, if the story is, it would depend on what the situation is. Like
Sure.
there are no absolutes for me. There are no absolutes for me. Now I am older, right? I am older than when I met my husband. I'm 13 years older. And we do want, I think most women, most people want a sense of safety and security. And I would say my husband and I, we have very similar values, but we're two different sides of the same coin. He's more conservative and cautious and wants stability. I want stability too, but the way that I go for stability is taking risk. So
Uh-huh.
that can be a challenge, right? Because he's like, I'm trying to, retire with a big nest egg. And I'm saying there's no way that I can build the wealth that I want to build in just one 9 to 5. Like, so
Okay.
I'm willing to take risk to get to where I want to get to. And that sometimes causes tension. That causes tension. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur and there's no cap to what I can earn. So,
No, okay, yeah.
and no matter what happens, like, so it's good because he has the insurance. Like I can get insurance over here too, but he has really good insurance. So he carries the insurance. And he's doing all the things. We have a kid in private school. So we're both doing all the things, right? But my thinking is like, this is the path to wealth, right? And he's like, okay, this is the stability part over here, but this is the part over here where there is no cap. So, and I don't have a prenup. I don't have a prenup. And I believe that what I'm building will be worth a lot. So, what I built, he's been holding everything down. Like he's entitled to what I have, right? He's entitled to it because even if he didn't go out there and earn it in that way, he was doing the dishes. He was
Supporting you.
he was picking our son up. He was doing all the things. We're partners in this.
That's a great way to look at it. All right, Mel says, I'm absolutely intimidating to men, but transparently, I've been blessed in relationships. Okay, okay. Now, we had a relationship coach on there who said that if men are intimidated by you, they feel insecure. You make them feel unsafe. And that's, she said, we're using the word not we, but, women use the word intimidating kind of incorrectly, not in the correct context. And when she explained it, it made perfect sense what she was saying. What do you think about that? Do you think men are intimidated by educated women, or do you think that's just something that we tell ourselves? I guess it's a
I
little bit of
don't know.
both,
Yeah,
probably.
sometimes I think it's something that we tell ourselves, but I guess it depends on the man. Like my husband would never be intimidated by an educated woman. Like he's got his own degrees, he got his own stuff, and he would not. He's like, oh, he goes, if you go ahead and if you make millions, great, we got millions. Like he wouldn't be like, oh, she's making like more than me, or because there's been times in our relationship where I've made more than him, and times in our relationship where he's made more than me. he doesn't care. Like he likes that we make money, right? Like he feels like that's good, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think it's the man. I think it's the man. But how is your energy? Like, are you going to a relationship with masculine energy, right? Or are you going into like, I got this, I got that, I can do bad all by myself? Is it that energy? Because if you could do bad
We're
all by
going in
yourself,
singing all the women who's independent. We're going in singing that independent theme song. And that's why we're
so be
probably
careful.
single.
Like, okay, so words have power. Words have
Yes,
power. So be careful what you speak because you will have that. You will have
yes,
what you say. The tongue is a creative force. So if you say, "Oh, they're all these men, they're intimidated by me. They don't have to." Why are you attracting men who are intimidated by you? You are a bad sister. You are a bad sister. So I would like for you to attract a man who wants to say to his brothers, like, I got a bad sister, right? She got her degrees. She is not a joke. She ain't playing, right? And she picked me, right?
yeah. And she's smart because she picked me.
And a man who would say to her, if this is what she likes, a man who would say to her, when you're with me, I got you. Like, I know you're out there. You did all the things. You built all the things on your own, but you're not on your own anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're a team now, and I got you. And you don't need to wear your cape. You don't need to wear your cape all day. Out there, you wear your cape. But at home, you can take that off because I got you. Like, that's the kind of man. Let me tell you, my aunt worked in corrections. She was a lieutenant, a sergeant in corrections, right? She retired from that at like 52, 54, she retired. And all she wanted she was around masculine energy all the time. It was a men's prison. Every day, that was her life. And she worked from 18 to like 52, right? And all she wanted was to be in a relationship where she felt soft and feminine, and she could just not order anybody around. She could be taken care of and know that he's got her. She went on a date and a man bought her popcorn, like caramel popcorn. And she couldn't stop talking about that. She said, he was like, you don't have to pay for it. Like, I got it. Like, it was so small. But the fact that she didn't have to go into her pocket and do anything. He's like, no, you want popcorn? I got you. Like, it's nothing. Right? And she was like so appreciative of that, right? And she made a lot of money. Like, she could clearly buy herself popcorn.
Right.
It was like the fact that he made her feel like she was a woman, right?
Yeah.
And she wanted that. So for the women who want to feel like a woman, right, if that's how you want to feel in the relationship, then you got to watch your energy.
Yes, that's what we've heard that too. Like, watch that energy. Yeah.
I don't want a man with feminine energy. And let me just say that there's a time and place for everything, right? So if I'm hurting, my mom passed away, I want you to be strong but compassionate, right?
Right, yeah.
But I don't want, if somebody breaks into our house, like, I want you to be on it. Like, I don't want to be afraid and you afraid too. Like,
no, you didn't say that.
I'm like, what are we going to do? He's like, I don't know. What should we do? That's not what I'm looking for. Like,
and that's true. I guess you have to have that balance, like balance each other out, which is, which probably we're looking for. Okay, let's see. We have some more comments in here. I lose these comments. Jeez Louise. Now, Jen asked about a list, and you talked about you don't necessarily have a list, but when you have, it doesn't have, I guess a list is just calling it.
When I was younger, I used to have a list. Right.
But shouldn't you have, let's not call it a list, but shouldn't you have your non-negotiables though?
Yes, for sure. Remember, we talked about the first step is that clarity piece, being clear about what you want and what you don't want, right? Okay. I used to say that looks weren't important. I used to say that. And I wasn't always 332 pounds, right? I used to say looks weren't important. And then I went on a date with someone who was huge. So he was really a big man. And I lost sleep over that. He took me out to dinner and to a movie, and he could barely fit into the seat. And I felt like people were watching us People, when I got into his car, he had a car that had like one row. It wasn't bucket seats, one row. And it was like way back when I was sitting, it was way back. So my experience with him was different. And I felt uncomfortable that everybody was looking at us. And, you know, and I had talked to him for like months before we met. So I was growing to like him over the phone. And I sent him a picture of myself, but he didn't send me a picture of himself. But he told me, he's like, I look like a mixture between Charles Barkley and Freddie Jackson or something like that, right? So I was like, okay, you sound like a nice looking guy. And the thing that I kept telling myself is, looks are not the most important thing to me.
Right.
So you're going to date, like, you don't have to send me your picture. Like, you sound like such a great guy, you know? And I was in Philadelphia and I was visiting my cousin and I was getting all dialed up for the date. I was like doing my hair in the mirror and all that. And my mom and dad were there and he called and said, I'm not far from you. I want to stop by and meet you in person. This will be our first meeting in person. And I was like, well, I don't know if you want to come because my parents are here. Right. And he was like, that's okay. I'd love to meet them. I was like, okay, come on over. So he's coming. I'm like, get myself like put the lipstick on, getting all dialed up. Right. And I told my mom, he's coming. She's like, but she didn't want me to date online. She's like, we'll see who comes. We'll see, you know. So I hear the doorbell ring and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's here, right? My cousin, who's 7 years my senior, comes back to the bathroom, knocks on the door. I open the door and she says to me, Ange, he's not for you. And I was like, what? Why? Like, he's so great. Like, I can't wait to meet him. She's like, I'm telling you, he's not for you. So I go out and I meet him and I go to hug him and I didn't know where to start. Like, I had never met anybody that large in person before. Like, I never, he was really tall too. He was a big guy. Wow. And I'd never met anybody that large in person before. And I invited him to go. We were going to go bowling. I invited him to go bowling and do all, like, he was like, no, thank you, whatever. My little cousins were there. They were kids, right? And she was so excited that he was there. He's sitting on the sofa. And all she kept saying, and I was so embarrassed, all she kept saying was, Barney's here. So I don't know if you guys remember Barney, if you're old enough to remember Barney.
No way.
Running and jumping on his lap and running and like, she just felt like, this is like, Barney is here. And I lost sleep over that. My cousin was like, I told you about that online dating, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I really feel bad because I've always said that looks don't matter. And I feel uncomfortable. And I wasn't tiny, right? I was a big, because when you say he's a big guy, I was like, I'm a big girl, right? I don't mind, you know. And I said to myself, I was like, you're a hypocrite. That whole night, I didn't sleep. I tossed and turned that whole night. And I said, Ange, you're a hypocrite. That you're saying that looks don't matter, but you are you know, don't want to go out with this guy. So he asked me out on another date. We didn't go on a date that night. He just came over. He hung out for a little bit and then he left. And then I went bowling with my cousins. But he took me out on a date. I went on that date and I felt very uncomfortable because I was worried about him. Like, when you sat in a chair, is the chair going to hold him? When he squeezed into the move, like, I felt like he's very uncomfortable. And this is before they had the handicap accessible seating. I felt like he was very uncomfortable, right? And I tossed and turned after that date. I tossed and turned again after that. And I went out on another date because my friends were like, you're not going to go out with him again, are you? I was like, I'm going to go out with him again because I said that looks are not important. And I need to go out with him. He's a nice guy. And I went out with him again. And I wasn't attracted to him. So, and I said to myself, what else is here? And I felt like he wasn't honest with me. He never sent me a picture. And I felt like it was almost like a handicap, right? Like, if you're with somebody who has something that's obvious, not that he couldn't lose weight like all of us could lose weight. And it may sound like really hypocritical of somebody was 332 pounds myself. I wasn't that weight when I went on with him, but I was still a curvy girl. But I wasn't attracted to him. And so I had to say to myself, it's okay You might meet somebody else who's a big guy. Like I've dated
Right.
big guys and I was attracted to them. But with this guy, I wasn't attracted to him. And I was trying to make myself be attracted to him because I was saying that looks weren't important.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, what made you go out with him the second time after he came to the house and all of
Mm-hmm.
that? Was it just that you felt bad for, or you felt bad for
I
him, or you
felt
thought, why
like
am I making this decision?
Yeah, I was like, you need to get over yourself, Ange. Like, you're not a beauty queen. You need to get over yourself. And you need to go out with him because he's a nice guy. Right. So that's why I went out with him twice, two more times after that. So the first time he met there where my parents were, he came and I met him the first time. And then we didn't go out that night. Then he invited me on a date and I did go out on a date with him. And then he invited me out again and I went out with him again on another date. And after that next date, I knew like it wasn't, there was no love connection, right? And that I wasn't attracted to him.
And I think that's okay. It does sound, maybe people might watch this and think that's hypocritical because you're overweight, but I do think you have to be attracted to the person.
Like there has to be something about him that really draws you in. Like,
Yeah.
like my husband is not tall. Like the women are like, he's taller than I am, but he's not a tall man. But I feel like he's a giant. Like he has such swagger, like the way he walks. Like I just watch him sometimes, like, and he's so confident. And he's so confident. And maybe that was part of it too. Even if this guy is big, because it could have been a situation where he was really confident and he's like, Ange, I got you. I'm your big teddy bear. Like, I got you. Now that swagger would have attracted me. Like, I don't care if they say, like, the guy that would go in and not squeeze into a little chair, but we like, don't got any bigger chairs out. Like, I'm a big dude. I need some space.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm with him. But it wasn't
Right.
that. It wasn't that energy. It felt like everybody was looking at us and he was shrinking, like he was dimming his light. And I didn't feel good and confident with him. But he was like, I'm a big guy. I'm ordering 2 steaks, right? I
Right.
was like, have at it, right? Let me taste what you got. Let's order a couple different things so we can share. Right? You know what I mean?
So he wasn't confident either. And that's what we say. Confidence is attractive, isn't it? Jeez Louise. All right. Let's see. Somebody says, it's Darian. I've seen well-established men who have been public servants for 20 years and they've lost everything. Do dating women want a man who lost their jobs? I think this is, we probably answers. I think you had a great answer and I feel the same way too. If they are the type that's going to go and look for another job, or, you might say, okay, you could take a break for a minute, just relax, look around. But I want to know that he's out there pursuing things.
Yes.
I want to know that he's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. No, you go.
Okay, so let me share something with you. In my first marriage, my husband was working at a job. He was brilliant, like really, like Mensa brilliant, right? Like
okay.
IQ, like he did tutoring for kids and got a perfect years later. I think he was in his 30s. He got a perfect score on the math SATs because he had to take it to tutor kids. Like when I tell you he's brilliant, right? So he was working a job when we got married, because I owned a property, I had a good job. I said to him, the job that you're working is beneath you. I know you're not happy. Quit that job. I got us, right? What I want you to do is find work that you're really proud of. And he was an entrepreneur too. I was like, do work that fulfills you, right? So he did not have a job. So for a long period of time, he did not work. 6 months. So I told him there came a point though, I think as a man, he wasn't happy with himself, right? I think he was starting to get depressed. And I said to him, you got 6 months. You got 6 more months to find something. I said, you either go back to school, you can, you can retool, you could, whatever you want to do. I said, but 6 months, you need to find something, right? Because of what it was doing to him as a man. Not because we couldn't pay we owned our house outright. Yeah. All we had to pay was taxes. We owned that property. So it wasn't like we needed 2 incomes. We didn't. But I was starting to lose respect for him when I would come home and there was nothing, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
I was like, come on, like you gotta, I know maybe you're in the funk. We all go through that, but you gotta do something,
So he
right?
wasn't doing the household things
No,
either.
and there was an incident. I don't know if I've ever shared this with anybody, and I'm sharing it publicly on your channel. There was a day, and I had a really good job, but I said to him, okay, if I'm working every day, while you're looking for your thing, while you're deciding what, trying to find contracts or whatever, do consulting, I need you to cover all the bills. Like, I don't want to be worried about, we got the money in the bank, so I need you to just cut the checks, right? Send the payments to all the things. Well, I came home one day and there was a note on the door. There was no light. There was like the power was off in our home. Like there was no electricity in our home. And he wrote, he said, the power is out. I know you're going to be upset. So I'm not, I left, like I went out for a little while. Right. And the money, and the problem wasn't that we didn't have the money in the bank to pay it. It was that he never cut the check. And did I know that was coming? Yes. I saw the statements I saw, but I refused. I was like, all you got to do is cut the check. Like, you're here all day. Like, all you got to do is cut the check. The money, we had a joint account. So all my funds were going into that account, right? We had money and we didn't have a lot of overhead, right? And so that's why I was pissed. Because I was like, I can't do everything. I don't want to be the man in this relationship. I can't do everything. You have to care. You have to care enough to do some things too. And I understand if you're, in a funk, but we can't live in the dark. We can't live in the dark, right? So things like that are not acceptable to me. They're not. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right. So can somebody lose a job? Yes. Can they be unemployed? For me, yes. I wouldn't leave my husband if he was unemployed. I wouldn't, because we'll make it. We'll figure it out. But you got to be there has to be something in you that says, okay, that door closed. I know God opened a window somewhere. Like there's some other opportunity for me. I don't care if you drive Uber. I don't care. Do something until you can do better. Right.
Now that's when you meet somebody, you know them, you're established with them. But what, like Mel says, I think there's something to say when you just meet. So when you just meet a guy and he's unemployed, how do you don't really know his background. I guess you got to get to know him to know what his work history is, what he would have to show you. That's when I think actions really.
That's when you get to know him. That's when you get to know. But I'm not saying if your deal breaker is you do not work, I do not date you. Maybe he's not ready to date. If he doesn't have anything at all to offer you, maybe he's not in a position to take on a wife, right? If you're looking for a husband, he might not be in a position where he can be your husband yet.
Right.
So that could be that, and I can understand that. He's not ready. Like he can't provide for a family if that's what you want, right? And you got to decide what you want. Like I had an uncle and I didn't think he treated his wife well. But what I learned from that relationship, they were married till he passed away, right? And she put up with a whole lot of stuff from him. What I learned from that relationship, because I used to be very vocal, like, you need to treat her better. He used to wake her up in the middle of the night and say, I'm hungry. Go fix me something to eat. And she would get up and go fix him something to eat. And I was like, what?
Wow.
Whatever. And he said, look, that's what she did to get me. So that's what she got to do to keep me. Right? I was like, what? So what I learned from that relationship, because I used to be like, oh, couldn't be me, wouldn't be me. What I learned from that relationship is you have to decide. It's they had an understanding and that worked for both of them. She might have complained, but she did it. She loved him. She did it. She said, he's right. I used to treat him like a king. I used to do all this things. He's spoiled. Right? But that worked for them, and it's nobody else's business. If you want to date somebody, if you want to marry somebody going into the marriage and you know he's unemployed and he's not trying to work, but he knows you got a good job. He's like, my wife is handling things. If that's what you want, don't think things are going to be incredibly different than if that's what you signed up for. But if you were clear and say, I think you're a great guy and I would love to spend more time with you, but I'm looking for a husband. So I want to know that we're both stable going in. That's important to me. I want to feel like we're both stable going in. Then if you think he's worth it, then wait around and let him prove himself. Let him build himself up and bounce back. Let him show you he's resilient. He lost his government job of many years. He's going to find something else. Then maybe you slow down. Like you don't have to rush it if you don't see the things you need to see, and give him time to prove himself. And then if he does and you get to see it, then that's all good. But if it's not, like, I'm not telling you not to stick to your guns of what you want or what you don't want. If you don't want it, you don't want it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Well, Miss Mel says she has masculine energy over there, but she's changed in her old age. Have you really changed, Mel B?
And Mel B, I'm not saying masculine energy is a bad thing. Like everybody has both feminine and masculine energy, right? But there's a place for that. And I know a woman. He's my husband's friend. They were in college, grad school together, and I wouldn't say he has feminine energy, but he tends to attract very dominant women. He said he's they powerful, bossing him around, right? And I think he finds that attractive. Like, I think he thinks that's sexy, right? Right. So if Mel B, if you're the kind of woman who wants a more feminine man, then that's perfect. You bring your masculine energy. You be like, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like, if that's what you want. But if that's not what you want, right? Y'all both can't be, somebody's got to lead. So you have to decide who that's going to be.
I love that. Well, it's funny, Dario. He said, you got that face. You know what that is, don't you, Edge?
Darium, come on here.
Oh, Darium, you are funny to me. Jeez, Louise, she said he was a Charles Barkley.
That's what he said. And I really am a nice person. Like, I'm really a sweet person. So when he told me, when he looked at, he's like, should I send him? Should he asked me if I wanted him to send me a picture. He's like, you want to just wait and meet me in person? I was like, that's fine, whatever works for you. This was before we were, sending things through the internet. I mailed him a picture of me, right? And we talked for a long time, and he was fine talking on the phone for a long time. Never saw him until he came to visit. And my little cousin was like, Barney. She was so excited. She's so excited.
And you should have started singing the I Love Barney.
She was singing it. She was so happy. She didn't want him to leave.
But you know what? I do think that he was deceptive, and that the picture is a red flag. Like, not, showing you the picture.
I think of like Charles Barkley as like a big guy, but athletic build. Don't laugh. That's the truth. I'm telling you, that's the truth.
Oh my goodness. Not knowing where to start with the hug, and yes. So that he was a big guy, huh? Jeez Louise. That's a great question. Would you all date Barney in 2025? Are looks and size important? Now, we've had this discussion, and most people say no, unless they were unhealthy. So I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? For me, I would say that too. They would have to be healthy. I mean, but if it was like a big person that I probably couldn't hug, or like Ann said, I think it all goes back to confidence again. If he had confidence and swag, I'm all in, I think that makes a difference.
It was a different experience for me because I never like riding in the car. Like, I was like in the back seat. It was one of those one-seaters. And so his weight impacted the lifestyle. And even though I've always been heavy, I wouldn't say it's like, you wouldn't know if you came to my home and I wasn't there, you wouldn't know that I was, say, 600-700 pounds. Like, you wouldn't know that. So it was like one of those situations where I felt like it was a disability that he should tell me. Like, I felt like he should have said, like, I'm a really big guy. and so sometimes I can't walk long distances, or I can't, like, I felt like he should have shared more with me.
I think so. Been more transparent. We have another guy. Do you know Paul Lane?
Hi, Paul.
He
I've
said,
never met Paul before.
Is that Amadeus? Is that how you pronounce that? I love that. Paul Amadeus Lane. All right, very good. So he said he's down 15 pounds. Good job.
Congratulations.
Way to go. 15 pounds. Everyone ain't for everyone, says Bellflower. Be realistic about your expectations. Choose your person, mind, body, spirit, inside and out. No harm in standing in your truth. I love that. Yes, very good. Let's see. They were talking back and forth. I'm trying to go to the ones.
And let me just tell you, the reason why I know the difference was confidence is because years later, when I was dating on Match.com, I met someone who was a big guy. And he was like 6'5". He was a big guy. But he was very transparent. He sent me pictures. He did all the things, right? And we went on dates. Like, we had fun. He came down to see me. I went up to see him. But he was still out doing stuff. But he was a very big guy. And he's somebody would say, this booth ain't working for me. Like,
I need a table.
Right. So he was somebody like that. And I did not feel like, I felt like he was a handsome guy. He was good looking. He was clean. He smelled great. Like, I didn't have that with him. And he might not have been as wide as the other guy, but he was still very big. And he was very tall. Like, in the car, I think his head was like almost hitting the roof of the car. Like, he was that big of a guy. But I didn't have that same like feeling, like he was shrinking. He wasn't. He was taking up all the space. Right?
Well, that just goes to show you how powerful confidence is.
Mm-hmm.
No, Taisha is saying absolutely not, but I'm not sure to what part.
Absolutely not what?
Absolutely not. Yeah, you have to tell us, Taisha. She was on the walking pad. Maybe she's off. Beverly says there's an old saying that says, start the way you want to finish. I agree. Yeah, they say that a lot. Don't have an expectation you can't keep up.
Mm-hmm. Don't be making oxtail for your husband to catch him, and then you're like, I'll cook.
Right. You got those oxtails from your mom's house and presented them at you.
No, I got the recipe. I was like, I'm about to hook this brother up. Okay, Melby, we see you. I don't want a feminine man.
She said feminine energy, Mel, not feminine, Darian says. You guys have DD crying, laughing again. Oh my gosh, yes, they just broke that down. I said, now if that guy was watching, to him up in the comments.
We're like Melby, we got somebody to introduce you to. We're like, where's Sherman? Sherman loves a professional go-getter woman. He loves it. He finds it attractive when you boss him around.
Yeah. Wait, not Paul said it was like the movies Friday when the old girl said she looked like. Yes, I remember that.
So Darian, I got catfished.
Oh my gosh. He said you got catfish. That is too funny. He said, wait. Edge got her 110 film printed and put a stamp and envelope in.
What are you talking? Oh, you mean back in the day sending my picture? Oh yeah. Yes. You remember, Darian. I don't know how old you are. You might be a little younger than us. I don't know. But I sent him a picture. I sent him
Miriam, how old are you? We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And not for nothing, Freddie Jackson has a big butt. Now, what if somebody came out of the shadow singing, "You Are My Lady," Mel? Mel says health. Again, at this stage in life, it's important to me, or at least one on a health journey. I think so too. I do. That health is key. Simply Taisha said that absolutely not was about the guy waking the wife up.
He was like, I want some hot wings, and I don't want you to order them. I want you to make them. It was like 3 a.m. It was like 3 in the morning. He was like, wake up, wake up. Well, make me some. I got a taste for some hot wings. But now when she was dating him, they were up late, they were partying, they were doing all the things, and she was cooking for him. So that's not for him.
She said, she said they was up late, they was partying, now they in the bed. He's still getting up with the munchies. Jeez Louise.
Yep.
She
Darren is probably saying, that's what I'm talking about. You start whatever you started, let's finish it. Darren's like, I like my hot wings at 3 in the morning.
Oh gosh, you guys are so funny. Beverly says, Ange, I could cook me some oxtails. All right, so you in there. You guys got to get a man to eat. Me over and me over. Bam, I'm coming for the oxtails. I'm coming.
You guys are funny. You're funny. I didn't realize this was what was happening on Friday nights. I would have been here a long time ago.
No, it's Darren. He broke it down. He says he's 53 and oh my gosh. All right, so Darian, my mom was up there. I'll be 53. All right, very cool.
So I'm 54. I'm 54. I'll be double nickels on September 25th. I'll be double.
Oh, well, September. Oh, so you got the big 55 coming up. Okay, yeah. Very good. Yeah. She should have made him some of the hot grits out green.
Like, you want some hot wings at 3:00 in the morning? I got something for you. I got something for you, some hot grits.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's look at a couple of these comments and then we're out of here. Does anybody have anything else they want to add, or Ange, you want to add to this? I saw a comment. I wanted to come back.
I don't really know what to add to y'all because you're all crazy.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. All right, so Mel, we were talking about the husband, So Taisha had a comment about her. Let me see. Where did that comment go, Taisha? I'm surprised it let me go back up in this chat. You had an amicable. Taisha's been married 3 times. The 3rd time, she says, is a charm. An amicable divorce is definitely ideal. That is how it was with your second husband. We were laughing and joking when we went to get our paperwork notarized, and the notary was so confused. I bet you, because people probably don't see that so often, right? That people getting along.
Yeah.
Then she says the 3rd time is a charm. It's so funny because I was adamant that I would never get married. I told you, especially after the 2nd time didn't work out. All right, very good. So I'm glad you didn't give up on finding love. Yeah. Mel says she wishes her ex-husband understood her needing to move on. We were not prepared for marriage, and my subsequent relationship with my fiance was simply a mess for many reasons. So I had to end that. All right, Mel.
Good for you.
I wish I knew early on, Simply Taisha says, that I had bipolar 1 disorder. I really believe I went into different relationships in life while you were in a homomanic or a manic state that preferred you, that you thought they preferred you in that state. Now, Taisha, what makes you say you thought they preferred you that way? That's like a deep comment.
Mm-hmm. Were you like high energy, like just doing all the things, and they liked that, they were attracted to that?
Okay. Oh, she's talking to Mel about the online dating is a part-time job, and that we had Nadia Edwards on, and she's a dating coach, and she talked about like online dating, and she the same thing you're saying. She said you should date multiple guys, and she said the misconception, which we all know, the misconception is that you're sleeping with all these guys, and you're not. You're just dating. You're dating. You're not sexual or intimate.
And that's another thing too, like, and maybe it's old-fashioned, right? But I felt like they need to get to know you. They need to, I told you when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was reading all the books, right? I literally teach the courses, right? That you want to give the man a chance to get to fall in love with who you are, not just because you're so beautiful. Hey, Jen, not because you're so attractive and that does at any size. Like, you got confidence, they're attracted to that, they're attracted to you physically, all the things. And men, they're men, right? They're hunters, right? The ones that are masculine, have that masculine energy. And so they're probably, the way they may express being interested in you may be through physical touch. But I think you need to slow that down. Like, you need to slow it down so that give them a chance to really fall in love with you, as a person. Like, be the person that he wants to be, his friend, and get to know and tell about his day, and not just, I think it makes a difference. I think
Yes.
it makes a difference.
I love how you said your husband would come to your house and say, I had a long day. Like you were his, which I think you were his safe space. You were his place where he went, where he knew it was, he was
I
going to
think
feel good. No confusion, no stress.
Yeah, I think that a woman should provide a home that's a sanctuary, right? That when he comes, he has to battle, and, he's the gladiator out there in the world. But when he comes home, like, he should, I'm a traditional person. So for a traditional woman, that he should feel like he's the king in his castle. He's well respected. He's honored in his home, and that you're a safe space for him, that he can tell you about his day and he's not going to be judged. Like, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you like, no, that's not, the world can do that. And I say the same thing about our weight. Like, we get judged out in the world, but in our communities, it's a safe space, right? It's kind of like a sanctuary where we honor each other for who we are and the journeys that we're on. And so in a relationship, I always felt like that's my guy. Like, when you come through these doors, when you cross this threshold, like, we got you, right. And I think that's the kind of home that men want to come home to. They don't want to compete with you. I don't want to compete with my man. Like, I don't want him to be like, oh, well, you got this, well, I'm gonna go get that. Like, what is that? I don't want to compete with them.
Well, how do you feel about, though, you're a working woman, you're bringing in the income, he's bringing in the income, but what about the men who expect a woman to have those traditional gender roles? Meanwhile, she's working, and taking care of the kids and doing all those things, just like he is. Like, how does that balance out?
I was trying to do both, because I really wanted to still do those things, but he was smart enough to know that if he got home before I got home, because my job required longer hours, that he's not going to wait for me to get home. Now, I know some men who will wait till she gets home to cook. They don't even know where the fry pan is. They're like, I think it's somewhere around this kitchen, but I don't know. He's not like that. He's very kind. He's very considerate, right? And he's not going to wait. He's going to make, like last night, I did a video and it took longer. He worked his day job. He worked a part-time job at night. So while I was doing the video, he was finishing up work. He texted me, hey, I'm on my way home. He came home. I didn't have anything prepared. And sometimes I feel guilty that I didn't have anything prepared for him, right? So when I got in, the light, there was like he left one light on for me, right? All the lights, my son was already sleeping, like the dog was chilling, right? And on the stove, there was food. And I was like, oh, that was so nice. That never gets old for me. So that's what I like. And I like somebody who's considerate, like who is like, she's tired. And if the woman says to a man, like, I want to cook for you. Like, I love, preparing your meals. I love that you enjoy my cooking, but I'm so tired. If he's like, well, I'm sorry you're tired, but that's what you signed up for, then that's a problem. But if he's like, I understand, he goes, I might not be able to cook like you, but if you're okay with me ordering pizza, or you're okay with me getting like takeout, is that okay? And then you decide together as a couple, what works.
I agree. So we have some comments for you, Ange. People are saying, Bev says, Ange, I told you we have fun on Friday nights. What do you think do you think you're gonna come back next Friday? Dee Dee's group is a hot mess.
This is so much fun. I definitely will be back. I don't know if I can hang out with y'all every Friday.
Next weekend is her anniversary weekend, right? You're going into the anniversary. Yes.
this morning he told me, he's like, I found a place for us to stay. It's right on the beach. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go during the week.
Because
But
the 20th is what, Tuesday?
it's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
Tuesday. So, but yes, I mean,
Yeah.
I love her content anyway, but I didn't know about this.
Yes, you want to come back into the summer when we're out there with our bathing suits trying to find love. She says, I always laugh so hard on Fridays. I love it here. We love you, Taisha. Hot peas and butter. Come and get your supper. There you go. Mel says, great job, Dee Dee. Thank you for sharing your relationship journey. And yes, the story, the way you told the story was great. Well, what is she saying? Whose sex drive was off the charts? Who is that? That's you? Is that you, Taisha? You asked the question to her.
That was her manic high energy.
Yeah.
Okay, now Taisha.
Energy, confident and happy. No wonder you've been married 3 times.
She knows how to get a man. She knows how to get a
man. That's right. I often not always been the one they try to control, which results in me being the runaway bride, but I'm working on these things this summer. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I love the way she says she's working on it, right? Because we're all like a work in progress.
Good. Yeah.
Bellflower says it doesn't balance out. Thus, you will not be my man. LOL. We have to balance it out, and there are no full there are no full-on traditional roles. Again, creating a relationship that works for you. Yes, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. And I watch you all the time. I subscribe to your channel about what she say 8 and 9 months ago. Love your content as well as your posts. Okay, all right, very good. Yes. So you guys have to go over there and check out Zepbound what is it? Zepbound Journey with Ange. Okay. Mm-hmm. I always want to say Ange first for some reason. I don't know. All right. So anything you want to add before we say good night? We've been on here for a long time. It was fun too. Jeez Louise.
So fun. I just want to say for all the single people out there, the brilliant women and the few good men out there that haven't already been snatched up, I want to say that you're deserving of love. You are amazing, right? You're brilliant. You're born brilliant. There's nothing you have to do to be brilliant because you already are. But I would say, just to repeat what we shared tonight, that you do need to get really clear about what it is that you want. And clarity also is about understanding yourself, right? So if you know you're bringing masculine energy and it's a turnoff to men, don't necessarily say, oh, it's because they're intimidated by me, right? The right man can handle you, Mel, right? The right man can handle you, right? And if you want to be treated a certain way, like so being aware is very important. And it sounds like you're there, you're right there. So clarity about what you want, not settling. Settling is interesting. If you have a list of things that don't really matter, like when you're growing old with someone, I dated a guy once and he goes, I can grow old with you. He's like, I would brush your hair. If like we were in a nursing home, I would brush your hair. I was like, that's so sweet. Like he was like, I would organize your clothes. So think about things that really matter as you grow older together. Like maybe, and it might not necessarily be the 401k, but it might be stability. Like I want to know that financially, we don't have to worry when we get older. So I want to know that the man that I'm with, if he doesn't have all the things, he has a plan. Like I need stability because that's important. So the whole list thing, look at the things on the list that are real deal breakers, right? So if you grow old and gray with somebody, the things that matter to you, right? And that's why I used to say that looks weren't that important because looks fade, right? But there should be something about them that's attractive. So that clarity is really important. The second thing that I shared with you tonight is around being visible, right? Don't, I always tell my community to step into the light because you guys are amazing. And the right person is going to be like, where have you been all my life? Like, One guy, I went on a date with one guy. He's like, "You're normal." He goes, "I went on a date with this one woman. She was hot. She was fly looking. But we got to the restaurant and she was like, waiter, waiter." She was like, "I'm trying to get my drink on." He was like, "Oh my gosh," right? So, so you want to be visible so that he or she can find you, right? However you do that. Like I chose online dating because I felt like I wasn't out there like that, and I felt like it would give me a broader scope of things. And I really genuinely believe that God would give me the desires of my heart. That there was a guy out there who wanted a girl like me, but hadn't found me. He just hadn't found me yet. So I would say, your mindset and knowing that you're worthy and you don't have to be thirsty because you're amazing, and he needs to find you and pursue you. If you want a man that has masculine energy, let him do things for you. I have a girlfriend who told her husband, her now husband, like, "You don't need to give me flowers. Flowers die. I don't need flowers." Now, 10 years in, she's like, "He never gives me flowers. He never, that's why the one time he never brings me flowers. Because you told him you didn't want him to, right? Let him do things for you that make him feel good. Like give him an opportunity to make you happy. Let him delight you. Let him surprise and delight you, right? And the big and small things, and appreciate your man when you get him. Don't push him away, right? Let him step up and be the guy he wants to be for you. Allow him to do that, or else he'll go to somebody else who will allow him to do that. So be visible so he can find you. And then the last thing is that I want you to really show up and shine because you're amazing. Don't try to be what you think he wants you to be. If I had said to my husband, "Well, if I have kids, good. If not, no," because I was thinking he's a bachelor, right? He's never had kids. He probably doesn't want them, right? I don't want to ruin this good thing. I think this is a good guy. I may lose him if I tell him the truth. Tell them the truth. Show them the true you, because you're the person that he needs to fall in love with, like the real you, so that you don't have to fake it 13 years in. You can still crack yourself up and do crazy things, right?
Right, yeah.
Years in, right? Let him call, and you're going to feel better about your relationship with him when you know that he loves you unconditionally, right? Or he loves you based on who you are, when you don't wear makeup, when you're not all dolled up, you don't got your freakum dress on, right?
Right.
When you just show up, he wants to still spend time with you, right? He wants to still hold your hand. He wants to still send you flowers, right? So I want you to show up and shine, because that's what I want him to fall in love with, who you really are, right? And that's all of your good, bad, and ugly. There's some things that he's gonna be like, she's not perfect, but she's the perfect girl for me.
I mean, yeah.
And that's what we want, and go out there. Like I always say, I want you to be bold, because it takes boldness to show up, right? It takes boldness to put yourself out there, right? I want you to be brave, because it takes courage to say, I do want love. I'm over 40. Maybe I've been married before. I've been married 3 times, but I still want that. I still want love in my life, and I feel like I'm worthy of that. And I want you to be brilliant, because you absolutely are. And men are attracted to that, right? They're like, it's bright in here. When she walks into the room, it's bright. Like my life just brightens up when she comes, and she's like the sun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you want to bring. You want to bring that.
Well, let's end with this quote. I got this quote from what you sent me. It says, "A woman who walks in purpose doesn't have to chase people or opportunities. Her light causes people and opportunities to pursue her. Because what? Leading ladies don't chase." So if we don't remember anything else, let's remember that. Leading ladies don't chase. So, Ange, thank you for being part of the Leading Lady tonight. I enjoyed
with all of you. I really have enjoyed it. I've got my stomach hurts, my cheeks hurt.
Yes. So we'll have to do this again. It was great. We'll be talking for sure. And have a great weekend. And, most of all, thank you for sharing your story with us, your personal story, of how you met your husband. We enjoyed it. You are a great storyteller, and enjoy your anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy early anniversary. And we wish you 50 more years plus with your husband.
Thank
Bill,
you.
right? Tell Bill we said
Yes,
hello. We love Bill too.
yes. William Edward Durant.
Yes, yes. Well, enjoy your well-deserved anniversary weekend into next week. And we will see you on Zepbound Journey with Ange.
Thank you.
Bye. See you guys on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.